We got Europeans in here today. We got Americans in here today. We got East Coasters in here today. Hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's put a timer up for Gavin Newsom. Might get extended. All right. Nobody breaks the rules around here. Not even the governor of California. Not even the governor of California. Okay. New Zealand rise up. Really? New Zealand's gonna rise up against who? Australia? Who are you rising up against? New Zealand? Who's an enemy? They don't even have any enemies. New Zealand is just an island where people are nice. Switzerland rise up. That is the one thing Switzerland shouldn't do. Their whole shtick is not rising up. They're no conflict. Switzerland breaking bad at this point would be terrible. Brazil rise up. I guess you could rise up. I don't know quite against two, but I think Brazil's like more able. Swiss loser would say that. You think I'm Swiss, or what are you getting at? P. Will, thank you for the 49 months. Love the content, Big A. Keep it up. You know, I was just gonna quit today, but then your message, P. Will, powered me through. I'm gonna do this interview. I was just gonna skip it. I was gonna skip the content. I appreciate that. Why doesn't Atrioc sit on his chair properly? Is there a proper way to sit on a chair, or is it perhaps you have a normative, old, out of date, traditional style, and I have a new, sophisticated, future forward chair sitting style? Is that possibly it? How many gift subs to ask Newsom a question? Really depends on the question. There's some questions no amount of gift subs would do it, and there's some that I would do no problem. I'll do for 5. What the hell was the pillow behind the Twitch one? I think it's just a sparkly pillow that Ari put there. You got a problem with my wife putting a sparkly pillow? How the hell was that chat message for my screen? Because it's fucking magic, bro. We have next level shit on this stream. Keon, you thought it was just the Big A clips? No, I can fucking zap it. I can zap it onto the stream at any moment. Klarna Q1 losses, thoughts, just part of the process. Harry GNYC, you are a 9-month subscriber here. Your guess as to my answer to Klarna's Q1 losses is to say it's just part of the process? You think I'm some sort of Klarna defender that'll be like, no, you have to just stick it out? What is that fucking question? No, that's not, I'm not a trust the process guy on Klarna. No, I think it's a terrible business. I think it's For the meeting, you should ask him about LeBron's legacy and mog him with your vast wealth of basketball knowledge. Interesting. You think every time it brings up something political, I should pivot and be like, I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about Bron. Okay? You heard of LeBron James? The GOAT? Out here at 40 still putting up triple doubles? What do you think about Luka being fat? Dude, that's actually a big question for California's economy. I want to know, listen, if Luka stays overweight, we're not going to have the influx of viewership and merch sales that keeps LA afloat. I feel like there should be, I think the governor should get involved to changing Luka's diet. I think Gavin Newsom should knock the Skittles out of Luka's hand, dude, and put in a broccoli. Like Mark McGuire said, I'm not here to talk about the past. When did Mark McGuire say that? Did someone talk about steroids? And he goes, do you think he has a favorite Big A song? Yeah, it's God Gamer. Gavin Newsom's a traditionalist. He's a big fan of God Gamer. Not a bad choice, by the way. Just, a little boring. Like nothing. He doesn't have a deep cut. No. Anyway, we got a lot to do today. It's actually, I should change my title too, because I'm not just doing the Gavin Newsom interview. There is also a brand new Elon Musk interview on CNBC today where, you know, spoiler alert, he says he's like gonna stop political spending. He's desperate, bro. He's desperate. He's fucking... so we're going to watch that interview, see what he says. He's going to talk about his supposed reveal of July self-driving in Austin. Is Newsom in your house right now? Yeah. Gavin Newsom's just in my kitchen. Fixing up a PB&J, and then he's going to walk in here. No, it's a Discord interview. Discord, which about future forward. All right, Democratic Party, you learned how to install Discord. This is big. What's your plan with the questions? My plan is to start out aggressive to establish dominance. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna do this a lot. Every time he's talking, I'm gonna just be doing this. Showing off the jawline, and then when I'm talking, I want to demand he pays attention. Pay attention, Newsom. No, I'm gonna go band for band. I'm gonna go band for band, dude. I'm gonna just start laying down bills. I think you should give him a riddle straight out of the gate. Okay, one thing I am gonna do is turn off chat. I have to be ready to do that when it's live. Do have to do that when it's live. That is a big important thing to do. Could give him a riddle though. Could give him a riddle. We ask questions regarding the lack of... Yeah, listen, here's my plan. I'm going to just tell you right up. This is my plan going in. It's also Doug, right? We only have 30, 40 minutes, and Doug is also there. So I'm going to get possibly 2 questions. Let's be real. He has to talk. He has to give 5-minute responses. Probably I have 2 questions. So here's what I'm thinking. We're going to open. This is what they want to talk about the most. Trump tariffs are bad. I agree. I don't know if you've seen my content. I agree. So we'll start. We'll just agree that Trump tariffs have been really bad. It's bad for California. It's bad for the country. We'll talk about that. Easy. Then I'm going to ask, listen, I think a lot of people agree that Trump tariffs are bad. And he is polling, pretty substantially poorly in his first 100 days. However, the Democratic Party is polling even worse. And so why, I want to hear your opinion, Gavin, on why you think that is, why, Americans, even as they get more and more upset with Trump's policies, are not necessarily turning back to the Democratic Party. And then once I get his answer on that, I want to do specifics. This might be Doug, might not be me, but we're going to ask about trains and housing. I want to ask, listen, in my experience, having a younger audience, the number one most radicalizing thing is that they see no realistic path to affording a house. And in California, it's worse than almost any other state. And I want to know, in a direct, policy-focused way, how are we going to get affordable housing? How do we get past NIMBYs? And then I'm going to ask him, do it be shitting? Yeah, that's the next one, Jace. Thanks. Good question. Appreciate that. And then I'm going to ask him if you think 100 men could beat a gorilla. I thought Gavin Newsom was your streamer friend, not a politician. Bro, just wait. In 20 years, all politicians will be streamers, and they will be my streamer friends. Once fucking... I'm trying to think. President Beast leads us into the water wars. Once President Beast... Yeah, and then we're going to close with high-speed rail. That's my idea. Housing, high-speed rail, tariffs. And why is the Democratic Party polling so poorly? I feel like that's the vibe. But we have limited time, so, I'll get what I get. And then, assuming this goes well, I want to fucking invite Lena Khan on the podcast. That's the overall end goal, dude. Uh, is he willing to make an appearance on White Wednesday if Clint Stevens returns? Clint Stevens had a White Wednesday? What exactly was that about? Fake fan? I guess I am a fake fan. Try to stay in the loop, man. It's your job. I don't remember White Wednesday from Clint. There's a bunch of white guys on Wednesday. Oh, is that when we played like Helldivers and stuff? He called that White Wednesday. Also, Mango was in it. Mango's not even white. I don't remember them calling that White Wednesday. I'm not a part of White Wednesday, dude. That was also, again, Mango's not white, so it was not. Big Helldivers update today. Oh yeah, you think I should just blow off the interview and play a little Helldivers solo? Is that your fucking suggestion? Just tell Gavin, nah, I'm busy. I'm fucking liberating from the aliens. I can invite him to play. It might be like a little bit of a Fortnite Friday situation where Gavin gets in here. Should be a lot of technical stuff, you know? Okay, I see. I just streamed the YouTube feed. Okay, YouTube interview.
California.
For sure. Is there a link? Can't really find it. California. Do you think I should ask him if California has gone too woke?
This can't just.
Is that something that like maybe I should bring up? Should I ask him if Holly Weird has loaded question? How did this interview happen? They reached out. They reached out. Listen, Big A hits the movers and shakers. I don't know what to tell you guys. The Big A channel, governors watch it. Presidents watch it. Trump watches it. People watch it. Big A, it's out there, dude. People watch Lemonade Stand. The head of the LCS watches Lemonade Stand. Told me that at a party. Okay? Now, Trump's too scared to reach out, but after this Newsom interview boosts his polling, you know Daddy T's going to be reaching out as well. Don't forget to wear your MAGA hat. Just like 5 minutes into the interview, I pull out a MAGA hat. Sorry. Just want to get comfortable. Joe Biden lemonade stand next? Jack! Where's the lemons? You know I used to make lemonade. No, I don't think we're going to get Joe Biden. He has Glancer, unfortunately. Big T scared your hard hitting questions. I don't think there's any question Trump is scared of because he just simply won't answer it. If you ever corner him, he'll just say it's fake news. And if it's anything else where there's an opening, he'll just jump off into a different direction. He just won't. There's just simply no. Marty Monster, thank you for the 5 gifted. But get the emo cut back. I'm not gonna get the emo cut back. It was just a haircut that I wasn't able to get. Please spend the first 5 minutes thanking Trump. It would be so funny. Newt Toot, while I appreciate that would be really funny to you, I'm not going to spend the first 5 minutes of my 30-minute interview thanking Donald Trump. Just not going to do that. I understand that you would get a chortle out of it. How new is the Lakers L in your background? It's 5 minutes new because Ari got it for me. Ari got me this big chain with a Lakers logo. I don't know if I'll keep it there. It is kind of like dominating the frame. It is dominating the frame, so I'm not sure how I'll keep it, but W Wifey, I'll tell you that. Anyway, we got. I mean, you know, I don't have a lot of time till this interview, so maybe we just do the interview and then bada bing, bada boom. Let me see. We got a Newsweek poll 5 days ago. Only 1 in 3 Democrats feel optimistic about the future of their party. I got to bring that up. Most Democrats are cynical about politics. Voters are souring on Trump, but not turning towards the Democrats. So that's what I want to bring up. That's like the main thing that I want to be, I guess, slightly adversarial on, which is like, bro, I get it. Listen, nobody knows more than me that these tariffs are bunghole stupid. And they are souring people on Donald Trump, but why would you think they're not able to capitalize on that? Is the Enron hat $40 because of tariffs? No, that's because of my personal greed. The manufacturer told me we could make it for cheap and sell it for $5, and I said, crank that up to $40. W's. Open with the fact that you read the Financial Times and emphasize that it makes you smarter than him. Okay, interesting strategy. Put him on the back foot intellectually. I could read a Financial Times right in front of him. I could say, wait till I'm done. I could say, let me finish. All right, Gavin. All right. I don't need to talk to a governor when I have the governor of all newspapers. Physical copy. Physical copy is a big deal. Physical copy denotes class. As a power play, keep pushing back the interview because you have to push the timer back. Well, I actually probably do get one timer extension. 12 minutes from now is 54. So we'll have 6 minutes still. Ask him why he hasn't run his own crypto scam like Trump. That's actually not a bad idea. How about ask him, look, Trump's got Trump coin. Where is Newsom coin? How are you going to get the funding? Thank you for the 33 months, Snooty 35. Big A, don't stand up to shake his hand. That's how he mogs people on height. First of all, I'm 6'8" and shredded, so I'm not worried about that. Second of all, it's a digital interview, so I won't be standing up to shake his hand either way. Do it anyways and bow. Plus, yeah, it's all hair height with him. It's all hair height. Is he going to call you Atrioc or Brandon? That's actually a great question. I have no idea. When I was in the pre-interview with his team, they kept calling me Atrioc, but they called Doug just Doug. They kept calling me Atrioc, and I was like, call me Brandon. Double standards. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're Doug, someone calling you Doug feels fine. But if you're Atrioc, maybe you don't. I don't know. They did get it right, though. That means they must know something, because a lot of people, when they first read my channel, go Atrioc, or they say something, they don't say it right. But they said Atrioc confidently. So they've clearly seen something. If Gavin gets mad at Trump, can you yell "Year of Kindness"? These are all such good suggestions. I'm so glad to have you guys here. Do you remember when Trainwrecks called you Atrioc? Every night. Every night. Because if he'd have pronounced it right, I could have been gambling with him right now on Kick. He missed his shot. He missed his shot. I was so insulted by his mispronouncing of my name that I didn't take the kick deal that I was clearly offered. How did you get the governor on? The real fucking question is how did the governor get me, dude? I was busy today. I could have been playing basketball right now. The governor got me to get on there and interview him. Okay? How did he manage that? You should be asking him. DM him that. Keep yawning and looking at your watch during the interview. These are all terrible ideas. Listen, I have real questions that I think are not fluff. Like I want to get answers. I'm not gonna just set up, but I also am not gonna be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? There's no point in being an ass. What's the point of being an asshole? I just want to ask. I think probably 2 real questions that I think would be difficult to answer on the spot if he didn't have a good answer. When you give a question, quickly jump in and answer it yourself for dominance. Interesting. What do you think about, Governor? What do you think about the epidemic of ligma? What do you think about the epidemic of ligma? Sorry, can I thank a sub real quick? Hey, thank you, Kim Von Fabulous, for the 10 months. Just Janik, thank you for the Prime. Acula MD, thank you for the Prime. Mr. Broccolini for the 39. Optics Control, thank you for the 2 months. Vine Boom. Gavin, can you help us get off to a hype train? Gavin, if you don't mind, could you help us get off to a hype train by shouting out subs, please? Turn on TTS. Interesting. Get Scott Galloway on. We might. I might get him on this channel, or I might get him on Lemonade Stand. Listen, if this goes well, it's just an easy, like, all this has to do is go fine. That's my goal. If this goes fine, then we have like a video. I could be like, hey, we've interviewed Gavin Newsom. Do you want to be an interviewee? And then we can open up any number of guests to Lemonade Stand. That's the fucking, that is the T. That is the goal. That is the plan. It needs to go fine. Lena Khan would be my goal. I would love to talk to Lena Khan, especially now that she doesn't have any master to serve. You know, she's a free woman, and I can ask about the real challenges of that job and what was blocking them and what she thought. You know, I would love to. We could interview Ron Vara. Actually, I might ask that. Here, I'll make a note to myself. Let's see. Trump tariffs. Peter Navarro, Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, who's running the ship there. Packed in California, polling poorly despite Trump's missteps. People are souring on Trump, but not necessarily turning to the Democratic Party. Democrats themselves are deeply pessimistic about the future of the... Dude, I'm actually so hungry, though. That's going to be a problem. Who does he have winning the NBA Finals? That's a great question. Honestly, so many upsets, it's crazy. So many upsets, it's crazy. At this point, I want the Wolves to win. I don't know what Gavin Newsom thinks, but damn, it'd be so hype if the Wolves won. If Ant Edwards gets a ring, Lakers get de facto second place. That'd be sick. Governor, can you hold for 5 while I make a PB&J? I hungry. Listen, I think they would. I'll hold for 5 if I really had to eat. I don't know if I'd have to say I'm hungry. I don't think hungry's the right way to say it. Can you, as the glistener of California, if we get a move for the fans? What? You didn't even write proper English. Can you, as the glistener of California, can get move for the fans? Well, Governor, we have to cut this short. I'm getting eepy. Well, Governor, as a Discord kitten might say, I'm getting a little eepy. So let's just call it here. Thank you for your time. I am a little bit hungry. I'm not eepy. I'm hungry. What is it, 4 o'clock? Damn, I have not eaten. I have not eaten. Okay, well, cool. Bro, having a super important interview and wears the most regular shirt possible, like bro ever heard of a tie, let alone a collar? It's not a job interview. It's not a job interview. I'm not applying for anything. I'm going to ask the governor questions relevant to my audience. That's the point. Is it's for my audience. I don't think a slob. It's a nice clean shirt. He's not gonna roast my fit. I'm gonna run back out here in a tan suit. No, dude, I'm not gonna wear a suit. No, I don't think anyone's wearing suits. Look, okay. This is the live stream right now. This guy's in a fucking t-shirt. This guy's got a suit. Okay, all right. Well said. But listen, bro, I'm going Steve Jobs. I'm going Steve Jobs. It's a good look. I'm going Jobsian. And I'm going to ask about Jobs. Okay. I'm going to say, who do I look like, Gavin? And he's going to say Steve Jobs. And I'm going to say, no, where's the fucking jobs in California? Okay. And that's called a fucking 1-2. I caught him. What if he says Shrek? Where's the fucking Shrek in California? That's what I'm going to say, dude. I'll just pivot. I'll do whatever. Should you refer to him as the Gavinator in honor of our previous governor? It would be funny if I just pretend he's Arnold Schwarzenegger the whole time. Governor, it's such an honor to meet you. My first question, I guess, is what was it like filming The Terminator? Like, that is so cool that you... Oh, I'm sorry. My notes, I guess, are... What was it like working with Danny DeVito? Don't forget to say thank you. You should pretend he's Gabe Newell. He doesn't look anything like... Why should I pretend he's Gabe Newell? That doesn't even make any sense. What a stupid fucking thing to suggest. Does it make any sense? Will Canada come up? No. To be honest, most of your pet questions will not come up because we have a short period of time. 2 interviewers, me and Doug, we have like 30 minutes. We're going to get not a lot to be able to be said. So I'm trying to be very focused on what I think are like important questions my audience might be interested in. And I'm trying to make them not so California specific because most people aren't from California. Shocker. So ask him who's more handsome, you or Doug. Bro, Doug. Doug. I'm sorry. I think I got a certain thing going, but Doug's fucking... He does like 100 push-ups and pull-ups every day and runs 4 miles, dude. I play a little basketball. Do you think he's running in 28? I think Gavin Newsom is going to try to run. Yeah. All right. The timer is now off. We still have 5 minutes. I mean, I guess I can just... There we go. We still have 5 minutes. But maybe they want me to join early? Keeping an eye on this fucking thing. What do they need me to do? Do they need me to join early? Oh, dude, Gavin Newsom's in waiting room 5. I see him right there. I see Gavin Newsom in waiting room 5 right now. He's in Discord. This is wild. It's wild they're doing it via Discord. Should I just hop in early? What up, Gavster? What up, Gavy Gav? Keep him waiting. Yeah, we got 4 minutes. I mean, I was supposed to join at 4, I assume. Do I... Imagine you got stream open right now. I'm sure someone on the team does. Listen, it's all part of the process. Democratic staffers of Gavin Newsom, you got to have a little lightheartedness, a little fun. Don't worry, I'm only going to call him the Gavster once. Are you nervous? I guess I'm a little nervous. That's here's my biggest nervous thing. And this won't be his fault, really, but like I hope I don't ask too open-ended a question. Then he talks for 15 minutes, and then we get nothing. That's my worry. Because I'm not going to cut him off. I'm not going to be like, yo, Gav, shut it. I just won't do that. I want a conversation, ideally, but it's not a podcast. So I've never done anything like this. This is a different situation. I'm going to do what I can. Lena Khan is not going, brah. You just wait and see, brother. You just wait and see. We're making stuff happen. I will have to turn you guys off in about 3 minutes because my chat gets broadcast, I think. Anyway, I just need a clean feed for I mean, guys, you know what you can do? Here's what you can do. Open the chat on the side of your screen. Just open the chat on the side of your screen. I just can't have Huck. Don't be nervous after you interviewing me. This is nothing. Atrioc interviews Huck. How much time do I have? You think this is a good interview?
Here at DreamHack in Sweden. I'm here with Liquid TLO and Liquid Huck.
Should I open with the big sigh? Yeah. No, that's good. You're right. Well, you're right. You're right. Wow, that's the confidence I needed. You were a child? Dude, my hairline's better now. Swear to God. Silencing us to talk to a government official. Officially, you are becoming part of the elite. Yeah, dude. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. And that's the plan. I'm going to go in the ivory tower. I'm going to try and get a state-backed tax discount for streamers. That's the idea. Yeah, that's my goal. My goal going into this is to make streamers part of the political elite of California. That way I can... But it's all part of my long con. I'm like Luthen in Andor. I'm trying to pretend to be high society so that I can one day blow up Clancyville. This is all part of the long con, dude. It's all part of the long con. Bro, spoiled? You guys are part of the rebellion. Okay. All right, in 2 minutes. Actually, as this timer ends, I'm going to join the call. Is Doug here? Dude, I haven't seen a message from Doug in this chat once. Like in 24 hours. Is Doug sleeping? Is Doug, I mean, Doug's not live. He said he wasn't going to stream it because he's not, his chat won't get it. You know, it's political. Is 30 seconds. Where's Doug? Where the fuck's Doug, dude? All right. Timer off. Text off. Unfortunately, chat off. Sorry, guys. You have to watch yourself. Bye. Bye, 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 bye. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Hey, Governor. Glizz to meet you. Fuck. Fuck, that won't work. Moo, Governor. Okay, that's not gonna work. That's gonna be stupid. He's not gonna like that. Notice anything? All right, I'm joining. Testing. Testing.
I can hear you.
Hey, oh, perfect. Great. Just waiting on Doug then, right?
I'm not sure who we're waiting on, but
I see.
I think it's coming.
I think it's just yeah. Hey, it's Lindsay again. How's
Hi,
it going?
Lindsay. Hi.
Yeah, I think we're waiting for Harry and Doug to
Okay.
join still too.
I'll message him. I'll message Doug. All right, I'm muted, so only you guys can hear me, I think. They can still see me, though, so they know I'm talking. But I am just waiting on Doug. Dude, if Doug doesn't show, it's going to be crazy. I don't know where Doug is. Is Doug asleep? It's 4 p.m. Doug, are you in chat? Doug, you got to join this call. Now I'm a little nervous because I thought that Doug would be here. And is he taking a nap, dude? It's like we're supposed to be I mean, I'll do this. I'll jump in, bro. But I if you bailed on me last second, it's gonna be a problem. All right, I turned off my camera so they can't see me yapping. They can't see me yet. 1v1 clutch up. Me and Gavin Newsom 1v1 in the ring. Oh.
Hey, Brandon, can you hear me? It's Lindsay.
Yeah, hi.
Do you want the governor to call you Brandon or Atrioc?
Oh,
What's your
Brandon's fine, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah, no worries.
Rules are okay. I don't know what the rules are, you know. So.
Yeah, no problem. I think Atrioc's tough for most people, and yeah, Brandon's fine. Or Big A. Imagine I forgot to mute. Call me Glizzlord. No, all right. It's Brandon. It's fine. Brandon is fine. Dude, Doug's not here. This is crazy. This is crazy. How the fuck is Doug not here? I'm losing it, dude. We're almost 5 minutes late. What a Giga Chad move, I guess, but my God. It's 4 p.m. He can't be sleeping. Squeaks, you in chat? You want to interview the governor? Hey, welcome first time chatter, not MK. Dude, if Doug actually overslept on this shit, it's going to be a problem for us on the podcast. It's going to be a problem on the podcast. I can't not bring that up for the rest of time. If he overslept on our glass house, I've never overslept for something like this. I oversleep for my meeting with Quack. That's not a glass house. That's a different situation, Quack. Half the time we're in a meeting, Quack, and you're playing Counter-Strike while we're in a meeting, ignoring me. I'm trying to give a rousing speech to the team. Just call him? Okay, I messaged him. Oh, on my phone. Dude, I might only have his Discord. Or did I put him as something else? I'm going to call Aiden, see if he has Doug's number. Hey, Aiden, I'm live. Do you have Doug's number? Don't say it out loud.
You don't want me to say it out loud?
No, I don't want you to say it out loud.
You know what's crazy is I think I might have Doug's social security number, but not his phone number.
That's what I have too. Okay. I'm gonna tell you something, Aiden. If you can find any way of getting a hold of Doug, it's actually super urgent.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. And
Wait,
so
I found his phone number.
okay, can you call Doug and tell him to check in with me on Discord?
Okay.
This is not a joke. It's actually kind of urgent.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
All right. Thank you, Aiden. Bye. Okay. 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 Aiden doesn't know? Okay, my understanding is Aiden does know, but I didn't remember how much he knew, and I didn't want to do the conversation here live. Aiden does know. We were all we watched StarCraft on Sunday after basketball. Okay. Oh, there's Doug. Oh, thank God. Okay, Doug's here. Doug's here. Okay. Saved. Right on time. What's up, Doug? Right on time, huh? Oh, is he muted?
Hello. For Doug, we're just going to do a quick attempt to do at least a camera check. I know, obviously, mobile's going to be more difficult, but see on how that looks.
Doug has not spoken to anyone that, as far as I can tell, in 24 hours. He's
No,
just
of course not.
here. He's just in the room, hasn't talked. Is he on mobile?
Hey guys.
Hey, Jordan.
One subject. Hey, what's up, guys? All right, so they're wrapping up the second panel right now. We'll get you guys in there in just a few minutes. I will come back in here and let you know when I'm putting you in there.
Cool.
Wonderful. Awesome. Stand by.
Doug still has not spoken. Doug still has not spoken.
And just confirming, Doug, if you're able to speak here, make words happen.
Oh, this is insane. He hasn't said a word yet. What's going on? Mic broke? Dude,
Talent, stand by. Jay, waiting for you.
Yeah, what is he doing?
Copy.
He's messaging me?
Grab it going up. Copy.
Are we just going to jump in without
the mic?
Oh, we're just doing it. Oh, we're just doing it. Oh my God.
All right, Talent, I'm going to put you in. Have fun.
Our next set of participants. We are going to talk with a couple of amazing and emerging podcast hosts, folks that my fellow gamers from the gaming community who've created a great podcast to talk about economics. We've got one of America's premier political influencers, and we are incredibly thrilled to be joined by the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. So we are excited about this panel. Thank you all for joining us. And Harry, I'm going to kick it off to you to get us started.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for putting this together. It has been so amazing so far. I've been watching at home, as of everybody else. It's been terrific. And I think this is really the first step in winning back so many people. And I also wanted to say thank you to California Governor Gavin Newsom for dedicating some time to this today. I know you have a very busy schedule with Donald Trump constantly attacking you and your state and making one terrible decision after another. So the fact that you're able to
Harry,
give some time here today is nice.
it's new scum to you.
Oh,
new scum, not new.
That's
scum.
right. That's right,
Just want
Governor.
to
You're
level
right.
set, establish that.
Yeah, let's foundational ourselves here. But Governor, again, thank you so much for being here. I just want to start by talking about the economic decisions that Donald Trump has been making and the impact on your state. Governor, it seems like to me that Donald Trump is almost insistent on destroying the American economy. It seems like you're feeling that in California. These tariffs have really hurt your state and continue to affect Americans across the country. So I was hoping that for some people at home, you could provide some insight on what they're doing to the state of California and why these tariffs that Donald Trump is placing on countries around the world is such a terrible idea.
I appreciate it, Harry. Let me put it in perspective so people listening can understand the state that I represent. It's the size of 21 state population combined. It's the fourth largest economy in the world from a GDP perspective. We just took over that slot just a few weeks ago with the IMF figures. Again, $4.1 trillion. That is significantly larger than any other state. And so my state of mind is one of vigilance as it relates to the issues of tariffs. There's no state has more to lose on the tariff issue and the tariff question in the state of California. Just think about this, 45% of all the goods from China flow into the port of LA. The ports of LA and Long Beach are where the vast majority of the goods movement in this country originate. 90% of the global trade is done on the ocean, on water. And so ports have been impacted, dock workers are being impacted, we've got truck drivers being impacted, supply chains being impacted, small businesses are disproportionately being impacted. The tariff chaos, the impulse that is the quote unquote strategy of the Trump administration as it relates to the tariffs are not only impacting businesses, impacting trade, but it's impacting the coin of the realm, and it's trust, relationships that we've developed over the course, quite literally, of decades, and of course, tourism. We had record-breaking tourism in California. I think a lot of other states could lay claim to that last year. 11% decline, 11% in March, out of nowhere, directly related to the chaos of Donald Trump, the chaos of his trade and tariff policies.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with everything you said. And actually, to build off of that, you and your team had a really fascinating move recently, which was you decided to go into the lion's den. You ran an ad on Fox News focusing on California, but also the country broadly surrounding these tariffs. You talked about empty shelves, no Christmas toys come December. Why did you feel like it was so important to reach out to that audience and let them hear your side?
Well, I mean, I've been doing it for years now, as you may know. I mean, I went on and I had a debate with, Ron DeSantis and Sean Hannity on Fox. I think it's really important. Like, you got to meet people where they are. And, I love Buttigieg, what he's doing there. I love what Bernie consistently does by going on podcasts. People agree, disagree with him, getting out of our bubble. I think it's just critical. And so taking it to Fox and getting on that platform is critical for no other reason. 14 of the top 15 cable shows are on Fox. Democrats are watching Fox. Independents are watching Fox, not just conservatives. And I think it goes to explain more things in more ways and more days about the nature of our country. And look, these guys weaponize grievance. It's surround sound on Fox. The mis and disinformation, just the rank lies. So putting these ads on prime time when Sean Hannity shows up there, Brett Baer's show, is important because we know one guy's watching, and that's Donald Trump. And he needs to understand his recklessness. He needs to understand that he's impacted this country in a way, even if he pulls the knife out of our backs on these tariffs, we're still bleeding out. The consequences are profound. I mean, this is a chaos presidency. This is the worst 100+ days in American history. His ability to damage this economy, to damage the reputation of the United States, is extraordinary. And what they're about to do by increasing the debt by $3.3 trillion, the impacts it'll have on our kids and grandkids, how they're selling us out, selling you out, this is very consequential. So there's the why. And we need to take it to these guys. We can't be passive any damn more. We're too timid. These guys shapeshift. We're constantly on the receiving end of CRT, DEI, ESG, everything with 3 damn letters. They seem to be dominating, and it's time for Democrats to get off their dust, get back on the damn offense, and take it to these guys.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I've loved your strategy with your podcast recently, bringing on people from both sides of the aisle, having these really important conversations. But what I will say, Governor, is one of my favorite moments of yours is when you were debating Ron DeSantis and you pointed out how he was losing to Donald Trump in his own state by many points. And he kind of stood there with his PR trained smile and didn't really know how to respond. I think, just one-on-one, I thought that was fantastic, but it's a good strategy. I wanna also talk about what they talk about on Fox News. And it seems like a lot of these Republicans have a nasty, no good case of CDS, California derangement syndrome. Your state is the fourth largest economy. You give more to the federal government than you take in. And in many cases, you keep a lot of these red states afloat. So can you please help us understand why these Republicans attack you in the state so often?
Well, what you just said is incredibly important. And I want folks, particularly my friends in Texas, no animus towards the people in Texas, of Texas. You're a taker state, Texas. 7 of the top 10 taker states in the United States of America are red states. The top 4 donor states, balance of payments, are blue states, led by California, 3x more than the next state. Let me be specific so I'm not accused of hyperbole. $83.1 billion. $83.1 billion versus Texas taking $71.1 billion. 83 billion, donor state, taker state, Texas, $71.1 billion. Murder states, 8 of the top 10 murder states, not just dependency states, are red states. Deaths of despair, lower wages, higher infant mortality, maternal mortality, lower productivity. How in the hell are we losing these debates on jobs and the economy to red states? 71% of the GDP in the United States of America emanating out of blue counties, innovation, entrepreneurialism, the dominance of this country. California is the largest manufacturing state. I'm not just talking about coastal elitism. I'm not just talking about technology and innovation. I'm talking about hunting jobs, forestry jobs, farming and ranching jobs in states like California. In states like Illinois and New York, which Trump attacked today, said it won't help those states. 25% of the GDP of this country in just our 3 states. I mean, we've got to wake up to how reckless this guy is and how reckless their rhetoric is, because people don't know the facts. And it's incredibly important that we push back, particularly on economic facts. Harry, last thing, because I think this is critical. Since 1989, I'm in Ronald Reagan's office here, which is just interesting. People forget he was Governor Reagan. So I'm out here in Sacramento at Governor's Reagan office. Since the end of the Cold War in 1989, there's been 52 million jobs that have been created in the United States of America. 1.9 million in Republican administrations, 50.4 in Democratic administrations, 2 million, 50 million. How in the hell do Democrats lose on the economic message? We are the job creators in this country. We cannot allow Trump and the right wing and the surround sound and the mis and disinformation on Sinclair Broadcasting, on Fox, One American News, and Newsmax to dominate the national conversation.
Governor, that is a great point. Sorry, I'm going to jump in just because we've
do.
got some other guys. We have Mr. Atrioc and Dog, some prominent California residents, and speaking to a lot of people about these issues on their podcast, The Lemonade Stand, and we're really pleased to have them as well. And I just wanted to give a chance. I know Doug had a minute signing in. I wanted to give them a chance to say hello, and then also just ask a couple questions.
Governor, pleasure to meet you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you, Governor. Apologize for being slightly late. My internet decided to go out the literal minute we were starting, so that was a fun surprise to deal with. I'm not sure if I missed it. I know regarding, have we gotten to tariffs and stuff yet? If you want to chat about some of what we were interested in, Atrioc.
Yeah, I mean, I did want to bring up, you mentioned the damage of tariffs, and the first question I had was around, I think you're going to have more knowledge, directly on policy and who you're talking to. Where do you think this is coming from? Is this Peter Navarro? Is this Scott Bessent? Is this Howard Lutnick? Is this Trump? Who is making the actual strategy of this, and why does it seem to change so chaotically?
It's all the above, and I'd add Steve Bannon into that mix as well. I mean, these guys are ideological on this issue, and for Trump, it goes back to the 1980s and 90s. He was putting full-page ads out talking about how we were, quote unquote, getting ripped off from Japan. So it's interestingly one of the few things that Trump has been consistent about throughout his career, but he just doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He quite literally, the chaotic nature of these tariffs, by definition, preclude it from being successful. If the whole idea is to get people to onshore and bring supply chain back, they have to be consistent, not chaotic. And we also have to address the fact that you have to be rational. 145%, down to 80%, now down to 30%. And just about, he's negotiating against himself as it relates to China. There's a recklessness in his approach. And so there's no strategy, there's no industrial policy backed up with a targeted tariff policy. I'm not opposed, and I think most folks are not opposed to targeted tariffs. Biden administration used them, but the Biden administration had the Chips and Science Act. They had the IRA. They had the infrastructure bill that Trump would only dream of to back it up. So a rational policy that was worker-centered, that was worked in tandem with targeted tariffs. That's the approach. But Trump's approach is total chaos, total toxicity, total uncertainty, and total impulse.
Okay, I mean, just to jump on that. So I agree with you. I fully agree with you. I feel like our allies are no longer willing to make fair deals with us. I feel like, like all the deals he promised to get are not coming through. Japan's not coming through. India's not coming through. Nothing seems to be happening. I agree with you. And I think, despite what you said about the misinformation of news and podcasts, I think this is filtering through to a lot of people. People are generally feeling the chaos. Polling is down on the tariffs, on the economy. He was favored on the economy before the election. Now it's down. However, I think it's worth bringing up that this is not translated to a polling boost for the Democrats, in that people are not seeing them as the good alternative to this chaos. They're just getting more and more disenfranchised and more angry. So I really want you to hone in on why you think that is and what you think the direction needs to change to get people to trust you and, by extension, the large Democrat Party about these issues. Because the latest polls I've seen show that if Trump is polling worse, so is the Democrats. They're both doing badly.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been historically low. We're at the weakest point in my lifetime, our lifetime, as it relates to the brand Democrat. And people don't think we're, quote unquote, on their side. They see us as weak. And so we got a lot of work to do and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of, I think, humility and grace as it relates to the party. And so I think that's most important. I think we have to own up to that fact. It is important to be strong. It's important to push back against Trump. I mean, look, I'm coming from the most un-Trump state in the country. You guys live here. We're already involved in 22 lawsuits. We're suing on his trade policy. We're the first state in the country to do that. So we're trying to assert ourselves from a position of moral authority and formal authority. But you need a positive alternative vision. And you need a positive alternative vision where people see themselves. And I think the party needs to reconcile that. We also need to reconcile on some critical issues that we're not in the mainstream. It doesn't mean that we're wrong, but we're not in the mainstream. And some of these things get weaponized and they get colored in and they get blown out of proportion and they deny us the ability to talk about the things that people want us talking about. And it came to this election, it wasn't just about inflation, it was about interest rates and the anxieties around car loans and student loans, and issues related to rent and mortgage. And Democrats also need to be, and I've been on the receiving end of the critique on this, and I think it's valid. We need a liberalism that builds. Democrats need to get out of their own way. The world we invented is competing against us. We need to start building more housing. We need to be big in big things. We need to deliver on our promises in big projects. And that's why I love the whole abundance framework and what Ezra Klein is talking about and others. So we got to get our own house in order. We need to make sure we stand tall and affirmative against Trump and Trumpism. And we need to be strong again in our convictions and clarity of our communication and take the offense.
So I'd love to ask you more about the housing policy specifically in regards to that. So Atrioc and I both read Abundance. I also watched the interview that you did with Ezra. I'm a big fan of Abundance and feel very similarly of a lot of chaos going on the right, but I would love to see so much more happening within the Democratic Party. And that book really resonated with me. I've lived in California my whole life. Grew up in Sacramento and then San Francisco. I was in San Francisco when you were mayor, actually. Loved it. And then been in LA since. And something that Ezra mentioned when you talked with him was, he returned to San Francisco after 10, 12 years, and it didn't feel like much had changed or was slightly worse. And so I would love to hear about how you're thinking about tackling specific building. I know that you've, for example, pushed higher quotas across the state to get cities to actually build, and there's the lawsuit with Huntington and all that. So I know you've done a lot of work. And my impression, and maybe please elucidate me if I'm wrong, is that there's still so much resistance to building. And when affordability is such a key issue with people voting, I'm curious how you think, we actually get tractable progress on this over the next, let's say, 4 years.
I mean, it's Econ 101. It's supply demand. It's not even complicated. And we're as dumb as we want to be. We have to look in the mirror. We've got to own this. We've had sort of a NIMBYistic attitude about things, and then we complain about the cost of living when we don't want any more building. We don't want anything to change. And the reality is we need to change. For things to change, we need to change. And by the way, that's across the spectrum. And when it comes to housing policy, we have to be more muscular. And look, I've said this before, localism is determinative. The state's vision is realized at the local level on housing and homelessness. So now it's about accountability. And you referenced, and it's not a knock on Huntington Beach, one of the most beautiful cities in the country.
Yes.
But yeah, we sued them because they're not zoning for housing. We put 46 other cities on notice. I created a housing accountability unit that actually is getting cities and counties into compliance. And we're now pushing some of the most aggressive bills ever in the housing space. I just linked them a week ago, quite literally, to my budget. So we need business, and we're going to try to muscle our way in to make real this abundance mindset. We cannot afford to continue the status quo. And it's literally, I cannot impress upon folks, those of you that don't live in California, this explains more things in more ways on more days in terms of the challenges the state faces, cost of living. It's fundamentally on the issue of housing, and it has a direct relationship to what's happening on the streets and sidewalks of homelessness.
I totally agree, and I really am hopeful that this makes a big difference. One of the things that when you were talking with Ezra, you guys were talking about high-speed rail. Probably we don't have enough time to get into that, although I love talking about high-speed rail. And you mentioned with regards to how slow it's been, but that it's starting to speed up, right? Like the land rights are now acquired, things like this. For folks outside of California, in the process of building a very long train. And on the subject of how long it took, you said we can lament about it, but we've absolutely learned from it. And so I'm curious for you, like the learnings from that project or housing in California, what specifically is going to be changing going forward for whether you, and even just more broadly across the country for Democrats, what do you think are the lessons of the past 5, 10, 20 years that can be, concretely applied going forward to make a real difference?
I talked about liberalism that builds. Something else I talked about is liberalism that litigates.
Yes.
And that litigation is what's drawing this thing out. We litigate on everything. And of course, so much of the challenge for California on a project, and remember, we're talking about a fully functioning high-speed rail system that doesn't exist in the United States of America. I've taken the baton from 2 different governors on this, and that's why I can't make up for the past, but I can learn from them. But I have to be accountable to the present. And we're now on the other side. We're finally, later this year, laying track. We're on the other side of the environmental review, 98, almost 99% of all of it environmentally cleared. And I'm being specific here. 2,270 parcels have been procured now and are under our possession. So this thing is a go. And I compare that, and I think it's important. And I think it's important. I told Ezra, you got to update in your paperback, your book, because you didn't include the high-speed rail that doesn't exist in Texas. They started theirs 1 year after ours. It's 4x over budget. They didn't lay 1 inch of track because they couldn't do anything that I just said California did, despite the regulatory environment that's very different there. My point is not to excuse California, but to make a point. You got to be big. If you want to be big in big things, you got to do big things, and you got to do them differently. And the issues around CEQA, which for those of you who don't know, is something else Ronald Reagan helped build, ironically, is on the environmental side, and the rulemaking and process is easily abused. And so we have to have judicial review, and we've changed the rules on that to 270 days for large scale projects. It's one of the specific responses to your question. I can give you others, but I'm telling you, we cannot afford to make the mistakes we've made in the past on these large scale projects, and we're finally figuring that out.
Can I ask a broader question? I mean, we've traveled, we've been to Tokyo or Europe, and they build trains there relatively easily with less wealth than we have. And if we can't build it in Texas or California, I just want to know a better idea, maybe from my audience, in a broad way of saying it. Why is it so hard? What is the specific challenge that it makes it so much more difficult here than in other countries where they have, again, less money, less. What is the challenge?
I mean, fundamentally, it's the rules we've created, and the rules were well established and well considered. The rules were around, a sustainable mindset to make sure that we were transparent in terms of protecting our environment. And came out of the Clean Air Act in 1970. They came out of efforts to reduce pollution, air pollution. They came out of a very enlightened process, but they started to get abused, and they became their own clay layer, bureaucratic inertia and litigation and eminent domain proceedings, and process that literally paralyzed us. And so, as I say, the world we invented, in many respects, enlightenedly invented, is now competing against us. And I mean this sincerely. If we're going to compete with China, and I think the most damaging thing that's happening right now is not just the attacks on Medicaid, not just the attacks on food assistance, but what's happening to roll back the low carbon green growth agenda, the Biden administration, all those tax credits that were producing real jobs and allowing us to compete against China. If we're going to be able to change the way we produce and consume energy, as progressives and as environmentalists, we have got to get out of our own way so we can scale up that agenda in terms of these sustainable technologies, battery storage, not just wind and solar, and dominate that future and compete globally. So this is an imperative for Democrats and progressives to begin to own up of some of these regulatory thickets that we in the past have championed, but no longer are relevant to the world we're living in.
Hey,
Do you
everybody.
feel like
just jumping
there's?
back-
Oh, sorry.
Doug, I'm just
Go
going
ahead.
to jump back in for a second. We're going to do Q&A in a few minutes, but before, I just wanted to kick it back to Harry. We've had some great conversations about California, but the chat's already asking a little bit more about what does this mean for me if I live, in another state?
Sure.
Yeah, I think you actually bring up a really valid point there and Governor, you're talking about this earlier of getting out of our own bubbles and being willing to combat Republicans and meet them where they're at. And this is something that you are actually going through right now. You talked about on social media recently this bill in Congress that Mike Johnson is trying to push through. That's all the way on the other side of the country, but it's going to greatly affect the state of California. Some data you put out about it is that it'll strip 3.4 million people in California of their health care and put an estimated $30 billion in funding at risk. Now, that is no joke. So can you talk about what this bill and what Republicans are doing in D.C., what that means for people in the state of California, but also what it means for people across the country?
Look, I mean, I think everybody across the country, particularly, I think the vast majority of this audience could appreciate these. And I was wrong. I said these guys want to roll us back to pre-1960s world. In some ways, I feel like it's pre-1860s and 1960s on women's rights, LGBTQ rights, on issues of civil rights and voting rights, environmental stewardship. But what they're trying to do to truly vandalize and to wreck the Medicaid system and the impact that's going to have in all across the United States, but particularly in these red states. The great irony of these cuts cannot be understated. And it's all to give this tax cuts to billionaires. People are not even asking for it. I mean, I don't see tons of billionaires are not saying, boy, we've really struggled in the last few years. I mean, it's not even all these corporations. They don't even pay the minimum damn corporate tax. Say, boy, we really need this corporate tax extended. I mean, I don't even know who their damn audience is. To saddle us up with another $3.3 trillion minimum of debt on top of debt, where we're paying more interest now than we do even investing in our national defense. The recklessness is out of scale, but the impacts, these food cuts, food assistance cuts to states, your state, everybody listening, it's not a 10% cut. The way they've actually organized it's almost every state, not every, almost every state, it's a 25% impact on the food stamp assistance. It's next level. It's insanity. And these guys are serious about it. And by the way, I don't even know if you saw it. They actually now, Chris Murphy brought it up today to his credit. They have in this bill, they snuck in, they're going to make silencers legal. They're going to deny states the ability, like California, your state, to regulate sensible regulations on artificial intelligence. I mean, California is the center of the universe, 32 of the top 50 AI companies in the world. States like California will have no right or role in that respect. They're rolling back California's clean waiver laws. They're doing that tomorrow, something called the CRA that impacts you and impacts technology and impacts our leadership globally in your state, in every state. So my state of mind is not just about California, it's the impact we're feeling with these cuts and this assault on our freedoms, our democracies, and our social networks of support that we all have to step up and be held to account for. So we're going to be more vocal. We're going to have people's backs all across this country. Look, I just want to remind everybody, Democrats have to be proud of. We should not be on the defense when it comes to the success of our policies and our values. Quite the contrary. And I think if there's any message I just want to reiterate, it's one of gratitude to you guys for platforming this kind of conversation and platforming like-minded people to be more proud, not just assertive, as it relates to the policies that progressives have long embraced and that are under assault at this moment.
Thank you so much, Governor. We really appreciate that. And speaking of platforming, we're going to go to Q&A time once again officially. And while thanks are going out, I really want to thank Doug and Atrioc for joining us again. For folks that don't know, Atrioc's been streaming this to his community of fans, and they've got some great listeners over at the Lemonade Stand podcast, which I would encourage everybody to go check out. You go to winthefightlive.com.
Come on sometime, Gavin.
Appreciate it, man. Well, trust me, I got 4 kids, so brother, it's on my TV 24/7. So I feel like I'm already.
I want to watch that, man. I want to watch that.
No, I got my Q rating just went up when I get home tonight. My son is the test.
All right, cool.
But
you have no idea.
I did want to kick off the Q&A section though with you guys, Atrioc and Doug. Just, you've got so many folks streaming right now. Just curious, like what kind of questions you're hearing from them that the governor might be able to answer.
I'd be happy to pull some from chat. They might not be the smartest questions in the world.
That's okay.
They may be the best ones though.
Listen, I can pull a theme here that I see over and over in my stream content, and this is a lot of younger people, right? And the thing they are most worried about, not just in California, most of them aren't in California, it's housing prices. I feel like that's the most radicalizing thing for all young people is they feel like they don't have a real ladder to the normal American experience. They can't see any possible future for it. And it's leading to all sorts of financial nihilism and crypto scams and everything they got to do to try and find a way onto the ladder. And so none of this stuff Trump is doing is helping, but this stuff was a problem in the 2020s. It was a problem before that. And so I guess I want to hear your thought on that and what they should expect from a different leadership. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it was everybody's talking about what Kamala Harris should or should not have done, and could she separate herself a little bit from Joe Biden, and was that a tactical mistake, the View, et cetera. But one of the things she did do is she talked a lot more about this issue than the Biden administration candidly had been on the issue of housing. It was one of the things she came out when she started to frame her own economic vision. And it was so interesting to your point and to, I think, the theme of people that are watching. It's so resonant because it impacts all of us as renters and those that inspire to be owners in the future. And we have a generation right now, there's so many people writing about this, Richard Reeves and Scott Galloway talking about this, particularly for young men, which is a deeper issue that we do need to be talking about as Democrats. We cannot cede that to the Republican Party and to watch that get weaponized in the way that they do it. The Josh Hawleys into the world. And obviously, I won't even get into the other cohort of folks. But the issue of housing is something we can control, and we have to own that. I passed, and I don't even want to get into defending my record because it's not good enough. 42 housing CEQA reform bills. I'm proud of the work we've done to put more attention to this. But reason I just said, I'm literally connecting my budget this year in California, which is the largest budget in this country, to dramatically more significant housing reform to build more housing, is because I deeply appreciate the anxiety that your viewers and those that are chiming in feel. And we have to address this issue, particularly in blue states. We have failed on the issue of affordability. We own this, and we need to own the response.
Can I ask one follow-up really quickly? Just on that, it'll be really quick. This is my worry. This is my worry on America in general, is that, okay, if you do these things and they work, let's say we do get high-speed rail you can actually get in. Let's say we get housing that actually is coming down in price. Will people recognize that, give credit, and give a vote? Is our media environment so cooked that people will not? Listen, you have to do it first. I'm not giving you credit for it till it's done, right? But if it happens, will people?
But
okay,
I'll just give you I'll just remind you what I said. 52 damn million jobs have been created since '89.
Yeah,
2 under Republican. The last 3 Republican presidents have one thing in common: recessions. Joe Biden, 16.6 million jobs, blew past the COVID. So don't give me the COVID number bullshit. He blew past it in 18 goddamn months. Excuse my language, folks. Literally 8 times more jobs, 8 times more jobs in the last 3 Republican administrations combined in just 4 years. And he got no credit for it. So what you just said is spot on. I'm leaning in, and I totally get the frustration with that. And so you're right. That's our job. We've got to start communicating more effectively. I love that. By the way, I'm an entrepreneur. I started a small business right out of college, pen to paper, part-time employee, Pat Kelly. I grew it to 23 businesses. I'm not trying to impress you, but to impress upon you my passion for entrepreneurialism. Thank you, Lemonade. I love what you guys are doing. I love you're talking about entrepreneurialism. I want the Democratic Party to own this space. I want to see this patriotism, service, a community. That's the spirit that finds the best of this country in our party. But we've got to be more aggressive on communicating our successes, owning up to our failures. At peril, this son of a bitch, Donald Trump, is going to shapeshift and convince young folks that he actually has their back, or even working folks back, which is anything but. He just did the biggest tax increase on everybody watching in American history with these damn regressive tariffs. Give me a break.
Okay,
Sorry to be
I gotta
so
jump
animated,
in.
guys.
Oh no,
Chris
it's
like a
amazing.
sailor.
Thank
No, it's
you.
fantastic. We love it.
We are so proud. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for sharing. And our chat is just exploding with questions for you. So I'm going to try to get through one of them. Hank the Tank, I promised I'd ask his question. Question for Governor Newsom: if California's lawsuits against Trump succeed, what will their effects be?
I'm muted for them.
We were involved in 122 lawsuits against Trump 1.0. We won over 80% of them. We crushed them. And that's why I did a special session right after he got elected. And we put $50 million into a fund so I don't have to go back to the legislature to get more money for litigation. We sued on his cuts to AmeriCorps. I mean, the best of America, volunteering and finding a sense of community and belonging and working together across our differences. The guy gutted the program that Sarge Shriver started and Kennedy popularized in the 60s. We're going to win these lawsuits. We're going to restore the funding. We're confident we're going to win on this tariff regime, and that's going to impact every single person listening and watching. Back to that caller or the person watching says, what does this have to do with me from another state? If we're successful with this tariff lawsuit, that will directly impact you because it will be thrown out. His ability to unilaterally impose these tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. He doesn't have that authority. We're going to win that case.
Chad, this will be awesome.
In every one of these instances, we are confident we're going to win. And in those areas we're going to lose, we're going to at least slow down the destruction.
Okay, another question that's coming up quite a bit. A few have asked. So I think we've talked about affordability. We've talked about housing. I think a lot of people are just asking about the homeless policy. And, what can we do? I think also people are asking about militarization of police. And I think I think there's a lot of folks who are concerned about unhoused communities and the policies affecting them and the idea of trying to do more.
Yeah, look, I mean, this, in 2004, California had, and I'll just give you a sense, California is outsized, about a quarter of the nation's homelessness. And that's been the case for over a quarter of a century. In 2004, we had
the tech issue on his side or
people
my
on our
side?
homeless count,
Are you hearing this?
188,000. We're just shy of that right now, 20 plus years later. Okay. So we've been running in place. It got really bad, and now it's starting to get a little bit better, but no one wants to celebrate failing more efficiently. America saw it's an actual number, 18.13% increase in homelessness across this country. Unsheltered numbers in places like Florida went up almost double digits. And so this is impacting people all across this country. Again, it goes back to housing and affordability. What we're doing in California is we are flooding the zone in reforms. flooding the zone in terms of support, the most significant mental health supports in American history. We just announced our $6.38 billion of new capital infusion, new reforms in terms of helping people off the streets called Care Court. We did some conservatorship
about the end, I
reforms
think, Chad.
that we think are thoughtful. We are doing more to address encampments, $750 million to do resolutions to help people and the underlying issues related to encampments. And we're doing some novel policies, Project Home Key and Room Key, won't bore you with them, that we think are nation leading and are very impactful, but we have to scale it and we need more accountability at the local level. Back to this notion, state's vision, national vision is realized at the local level. So partnerships with cities and mayors, more accountability, but we cannot afford to continue to excuse people dying in the streets and the sidewalks. It is a disgrace. And for those who want to criticize what's happened in the streets of California, you're right. I hear you loudly and clearly. And yes, I look in the mirror every morning and I take deep, deep pause and deep accountability for doing more as governor in partnership with my 480 cities across this state. And we're doing everything in our power to be thoughtful about this, to be compassionate, but also to be more assertive than we have in the past.
Thank you so much for that candid response. I think people are really, really appreciating it. Last question for you, and then we'll do a round of plugs. Okay, so question for the governor. Are there any plans for nuclear energy in the future of California and the nation? And also, we've heard this a couple times, what's your favorite type of coffee?
By the way, if you give me some fancy coffee, keep it. I can't take it. If it's some slow drip nonsense,
Should I move,
I
Chad?
can't take it. Give me a 7-Eleven coffee any day of the week. I'm at Chevron. Even though I got an electric car, I admit that. Don't call me an elitist. But if I, last time I was at Chevron, I'm like, love that coffee in the little quickie mart. That's my kind of coffee. That's number one. What was the nuclear, more substantive issue. So, hey, guys, folks kind of went nuclear on me. Full disclosure, I kept open just a couple of years ago the last remaining nuclear plant, Diablo in California. And I did it because it's 100% green. I did it because it helps us with the duck curve that allows our battery storage. By the way, 15,700 megawatts, just announced that today, which is unbelievable. More installed battery than any jurisdiction in the world outside of China. Don't tell me that we can't transition to low carbon green growth. We ran the fourth largest economy in the world with 239 days last year with at peak during the day, 100% renewable green energy. But that included 9% base load on the nuclear. And so it is an important part of our transition. And I think Democrats, I think we need, particularly young folks, I don't think we should be as quick to be judgmental against nuclear if we're going to get to where we need to go in terms of our climate goals. And I know that's not universally accepted or popular, but that's my humble opinion.
You got two supporters here.
Yeah,
we're both
amen,
big
brother.
fans. We're
glad you said it.
We're trying. Yeah,
I appreciate it. It's safe, obviously. No one's being reckless here. My God. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I wanted to just be able to do a round of sort of plugs and asks. Again, we started this because people were just asking, what the hell can I do? Feeling alone. And we want to bring people together and give them some thoughts about what they could do, who they connect with. So I wanted to do a round of plugs. And Harry, I wanted to start with you.
Oh, I mean, plugs in terms of social media platforms.
Yeah, let the people know how to find you.
Sure, why not? I'm Harry J. Sisson on everything, HarryJSisson. That's me on every platform, trying to reach every voter that we can and, at least let people know that Gen Z is still involved and interested in making this country better.
Awesome. And where can we find the Lemonade Stand podcast, guys?
You can find that on YouTube at Lemonade Stand Podcast. It's me and Doug here, and then our friend Aiden, and who's also part of a podcast called The Yard, which is pretty big. And we discuss politics, tech, news, business, all the above in a humorous way. And we're happy to have you on sometime, Gavin.
Yeah,
Appreciate you, man. I love it.
All three of us are very interested
fellow
in
podcasters.
solutions.
Yes, we're fellow podcasters.
Yes, on the same playing
We're
field.
on the
really.
same.
Yeah.
We're all making a difference.
I don't know, man. I mean, just my first podcast. This I hope gets some credit. My first podcast was with Marshawn Lynch, which I still do. Beast Mode, and we talk about sport, anything but politics.
Hell yeah.
Anything but politics.
Sure.
And then of course I got the Gavin Newsom show. Talks, pretty much all about politics.
I want to see your fantasy lineup, Governor.
I'm ready. Let's share.
Yeah. Anything you want to leave the people with, Governor Newsom? Thanks again.
Just
for
gratitude,
joining.
man. Anyone that's anybody, I just know this for a fact. You can't, I'll defend this point of view. Kingdom come, man. If you're tuned in, you're not checked out. If you're tuned in, you're not falling prey to cynicism, and you're taking whatever anxiety and fear you have about this country, and you're stepping up, and that's pretty powerful and amazing. And so I just want to express again, just deep gratitude and respect. You're the antidote by definition. All of you are the antidote to that cynicism that a lot of people are feeling out there. So just stick with it. We're going to get through this moment. We always do, but we won't get through this moment unless we all recognize we have voice and we have a choice. And the fact that you've chosen to join today is a big deal. Keep sharing your voice with passion and action. As they say in church, as we pray, move our feet. And so get out there, agitate, be authentic, learn from, don't follow others.
Thank you so much. And we're going to have links to stay in touch with everybody, places to support folks at winthefightlive.com. You can join our Substack, connect with us. We'll get you connected with all these great participants. Thank you again. We really appreciate your time, and we hope to do this again with you sometime soon.
Appreciate the opportunity. That was a blast.
Guys.
Thank you
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
All right.
Okay. All right. Not bad. Let me get the chat back on screen. Let's get you guys back in here. I know you've been off screen for so long. You're probably not bad. For 30 minutes. I felt pretty good about that. His ass is not coming on the podcast. I plugged the yard. I gave the yard a plug. What else do you want me to do? All right. I thought it was all good. I'm really unfortunate about the tech issues. I feel like he was spitting at some points. I mean, listen. Whenever a politician is talking, you can always go, oh, who gives a shit? It's a politician. And you're right, right? You can always do that and ignore it. But I think if it's a call, he has to talk. And if he's talking, he was making a good point. He was fine. I felt good about what he was saying in general. So I'm glad he did it. It was good. I appreciate it. I'm going to call Doug, see what he thought. Douglas.
Atrioc.
Okay,
Nice of you to
Chad,
show
who
up
do you
on
think-
time, bro.
Dude, I swear to God, it was literally 3:59. Internet goes
Bro,
completely out.
I
It's
was like, what the fuck is going on? I had Aiden call you. I was like, we're all in the call. Jordan's like, all right, we're about to go live. We got Atrioc and Doug. I'm like, Doug's not here. And then you joined and you weren't talking. And I was
yeah, well, I didn't know. Dude,
Bro.
I joined to the governor of California.
I
talking.
know.
I didn't want to be
He
like,
was in the
"Hey,
middle of
sorry-
talking.
Sorry, G-Dog. My internet was out. I didn't even know if I was on screen. Dude, my whole setup got completely... The internet was down. My phone wouldn't connect. My friend's
shit
phone
was
wouldn't connect.
so
I'm on his
funny.
setup. Jesus Christ,
It was
man.
like you were Giga Shy because you were you joined the pre-show call but didn't talk. And they were like, hey, Doug, can we get a mic check from you? Any words? And you just were dead silent. Like, anything, Doug. Anything from you. And you were just... I was
God.
like,
I want to make
He's bugging them.
Newsom work for it, you know? I
Yeah,
don't want to just give it to
no, I
Newsom.
like that. You're making a challenge. Much like Governor of California. It's a challenging job.
I'm chatting. Is it all right if I continue to use your computer for a few minutes?
I need to send a wire. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. I'm continuing to steal my roommate's computer
Is
for a bit.
Parkser
Or not
kicking you off
roommate,
the
but-
computer?
No. This is a stuff is set up here right now because he's visiting, and it's very, very lucky because otherwise I would have been completely screwed. He has like his own hotspot thing.
Okay. Bro, I just
Anyway,
realized.
guys, votes in chat. Who do you think won the debate? Me, Atrioc, Gavin, or Harry?
Did we maul Gavin? Dude, the way the graphic looks like a debate. Look at this.
Is it? Okay, so I couldn't
Can you see
it.
my
I had no
screen?
idea what was going on.
It looks
Yeah,
like
I
you
have
and
your
me
Twitch
versus
setup.
Gavin.
They used that photo?
Yeah,
Holy
it's
shit.
your photo with the mustache and the Waluigi hat.
Damn,
And
I
it
don't even
looks
think
like
I have the
we're-
rights to that. Making America Great Depression again, huh?
Interesting.
Is that what we were talking about?
Well,
I didn't-
also, the reason I look at this graphic is because we have something to talk about. We have something kind of urgent to talk about. This is Aiden's tweet. Deadass finding out about this right now. We forgot to tell him. I thought we told him. I totally thought we told him about the StarCraft thing on Sunday, but we
okay,
didn't.
Aiden called me.
Okay.
Okay. Because he called me, but during this, so I was running around, so I ignored it.
Yeah.
I'm going to read out the text. This is the first text I've ever received from Aiden.
This is so
Yo,
funny.
this is Aiden. Atrioc gave me a call and said he needed to get a hold of you urgently on Discord, but he didn't have your number. He said it wasn't a joke. Haha, IDK, what's up? But can you check with him if you can? Follow-up text 1 minute later. He's interviewing Gavin Newsom? Aiden, the ramp up to this is particularly confusing for him.
Dude, what a... It is so funny that we didn't
Wait,
tell
hold
him.
on. So you called...
I called
Aiden
Aiden because
and
you
said
weren't
you need to get
joining.
a hold of me, but you didn't tell him why. You're just like, need Doug right now.
Well, I was live and I didn't want to. Yeah, I just was like, hey, Aiden, I don't have Doug's number. Please get him here. He's like he's late to the. And like he didn't know about Gavin Newsom. That's so funny, bro. This is gonna be a great bit on the pod tomorrow.
Tomorrow is forever.
Oh, do you want to get
forever.
Do you want to get Aiden in the
you
call?
do
Let's see
realize
if
that we
add him.
can win. Yeah, you should call him. You do realize we can win every political conversation from now on,
Yeah,
right?
we interviewed the governor, and what did he do?
Oh well, actually, Aiden, our good friend Gavin.
I'm switching to the call. I'm adding Aiden. Let's see if he joins. our good friend Gavin.
When Gavin, man, we're kind of on a first name basis. He's aware of the pod, maybe.
Dude, I plugged it like 4 times.
Hey,
Aiden!
Hey, guys.
Aiden, we were just talking with our other friend Gavin. I want to know, he had to go.
Your other friend Gavin.
Yeah, we're talking to
We just felt
Gavster.
like, it's kind of awkward if you get 4 people. We were thinking we'd limit it to just 3.
No, it makes sense. It's like your friend, and you
yeah,
guys know him so
like
well.
we know
so.
him, and it's like you don't know him, so it's kind of like it would be weird to.
I was actually really busy. So if you go to check out Billy right now, you'll see my interview with a politician.
Oh, Xi Jinping.
I was actually working on that today.
You're
so.
talking to Xi.
So we're just split on different projects.
That's good. No, that's good. We split up, divide and conquer, as they say, as Gavin would say. You know, he's talking about policy. You wouldn't know that because
I'm so it's so funny. I want to dig into this so bad, but I want to save it for the podcast.
yeah,
so
yeah. All right. Yeah, we should go deep on this tomorrow because we need to get to the bottom of what happened.
Someone said lemonade stand was supposed to be your safe space. I feel like, unlike the yard, which just talks shit about you every day, this is more of like a slow burn to get you really safe, and then we abandon you for a hotter, more governistic man.
Yeah, what is happening? I'm like fucking Theon Greyjoy. I think I'm like safe in one moment, and then I'm like,
and now you're
safety
dickless.
turns against me, and I'm dickless. I'm left out dickless.
I will say this, okay? I plugged the yard to Gavin Newsom.
I
On
fucking
God.
heard. I heard.
did,
I
yeah.
heard. Arguably, I think that it hurts our chances of him coming on.
You really pushed. It's good that you mentioned him coming on the pod publicly because he had to address it and be like, haha,
Dude, I
yeah.
mentioned it twice, and I'm not gonna. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it because then his team might actually look at it and give it a shot. And I wanted to be serious about it because at the end of the day, we only got like 2 questions, right? I want to get more out of this. We didn't
2 or 3 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you guys given like? Are you guys? I don't know if I'm allowed to. Were you given like
you can tell me
guidance on the questions or anything? Like,
No.
what was the?
No.
They didn't say anything.
They said they wanted to talk about Trump tariffs most of all. That was their big
Trump
thing.
tariffs, okay,
So
fair
we
enough.
open with that.
That was what we heard at first, but then when we got on a call, it sounded different. Then they were like, "Oh, well, actually, we can talk a little bit about Trump tariffs, but then we'd like for you guys to chat about what the Democrats can do better." So it was both. It sounds like they wanted to hit.
Well, that was because that was our
I
feedback,
was
Doug. Like
interested.
after they talked about tariffs first,
Yes.
then we sent the message and we're like, hey, we don't want to do it if it's only, Trump bad. Even though he's bad, we got a lot of things to talk about. So then they responded on the call and they were like, hey, we can do whatever we want, but just mention Trump tariffs. I think it was good. I didn't feel constrained on what I could ask. I just felt like the time was so limiting. And
I was gonna say it was really short, but I also feel like he
every
got.
question I wanted to be like, no, tell me about that policy. But then you can't. It's like
Yeah.
And they hit you with the everyone's bored talking about California. The moderator jumped in and he was like,
now he needs to come on the show. I want to ask him. he got dished a few softballs, if I may. I didn't.
Yeah. Dude, I'm gonna be honest. Me showing up late, I felt like I had less credibility to be like, "So anyway,
You did.
your policy."
You did. You showed up late. You left me hanging, bro. I was like,
I mean, it opened. I mean, I wasn't very familiar with the third guy, and I'm not. Look, I don't think it needs to be like a Gavin Newsom "fuck you" interview.
Yeah.
I think,
No.
But
I'm joking. I'm joking. Yes.
But the first two questions from the other guy were like,
Nah,
"Hey,
he is-
Gavin, love that all the things that you did,
Yeah.
and how good they are. How do you feel about them? What are we fucking doing?"
I think that he's like the moderator or host across all the interviews, and he's like the guy that keeps it on message. I think he's the guy that's supposed to be like.
He's a very
he's very strong.
very pro. Yeah. Somebody said in chat a little earlier, he's like the younger, sluttier Aiden, which is why they
Right.
Okay. So I'm slutting myself out for Gavin. That's what I would do in the meeting.
That's why we could.
Okay.
That's why we couldn't invite you.
I'm quoting
That's why we couldn't invite you, dude. It was you were too slutty for him.
Oh, right. He is extremely handsome. I don't know what you want me to say.
We got on the call, and I quote, he said, "I'm cool with anybody, just no bisexuals." And we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll swap out Aiden.
You're telling me this fucking governor's biphobic?
Yeah, he's biphobic, dude. Big thing we learned today. Dark secret.
All right, I'm saving this.
Save it for the pogs. We have a lot to say. Let's not.
I'm saving that for tomorrow. Sorry, guys. I just got to get back to my day job. Just got to get back to work. So
yeah,
no,
the Mario
cool
Kart's calling, bro. The Mario Kart's calling. Make sure you. Bowser's Castle's not gonna erase itself.
No, just working, typing out my explanation of like the function of the national debt for tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Just try to explain the gold standard. Yeah.
He's like a gold standard. I'm excited. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Right. Peace. Fun interview.
Guys.
Later, guys.
That was fun, boys. That was fun. I did what I could. I feel good about it. I'm gonna send a follow-up nice little email, and I'm gonna try and get more people to give it a shot. Cause I think, no disrespect to the kid. What was his name? Harry? Literally no disrespect. I'm sure but I think people tune out when they hear questions like that. I think they tune out. I think if you don't because it just feels and I think you're not kidding him. I think he's like 21. I'm not crazy, right? I don't want to call him a kid, but he's fucking 12 years younger than me, 13 years younger than me. He's like 30? Wait, is he? Oh, maybe I'm wrong. He's 22, bro. Someone in chat he's 22. You know what I was doing at 22? I was playing League of Legends all day, every day. Okay, Harry. So I wasn't asking governors any questions, glazing or otherwise. Anyway, I appreciate them reaching out to us. It was cool. I thought his answers were good, but obviously, at the end of the day, answers are just answers, right? You have to do stuff. And I was trying to make that point without being mean. I was trying to make that point. But I think his answers were good. Like if all that matters is the words, his words were, I think he was good. I think he understood the problem. And I tried to do some research before this interview, and there are Gavin Newsom's government has sued many small towns in California for blocking zoning reform. Because at the end of the day, it's usually some rich boomer who has a lot of influence locally who blocks any ability to build new housing. And he has sued them. And that is the kind of tough shit you have to do. You have to do that because otherwise these fucking boomers will choke the lifeblood out of every town in California and in America. So I respect him for doing that. And he did mention that. But at the end of the day, most people are not going to look deeply at who tried hardest or who did this. They're just going to notice, is it getting better or not? And it has to get better, bro. It has to get better or everything's going to go tits up, bro. Worse than try. It's going to get worse. He also called you a little bro at the end. He's older than me. Dude, when he was glazing coffee, when he was talking about coffee and how much he loved it, I really regret that I didn't jump in and say, yeah, I'm a cow for it. I also said cooked. I said cooked to the governor. How about that? How about that, Gen Z? You think you don't have an advocate? You think you don't have an advocate? I said housing is cooked to the governor of California. How about that? Thank you for representing Gen Z. Yeah. Anyway, such a BS answer about coffee. Well, listen, I don't know his truth. Maybe that's the coffee he likes. And I don't like coffee, so I couldn't tell. But from my POV, when someone says, oh yeah, I like the cheap stuff, I'm like, fuck you, bro. You don't like the cheap stuff. The expensive stuff tastes better. It's like the reason people drink the cheap stuff is not because it's fucking tasty. It's because it's cheap. And I know because I've been broke and now I'm breaded. Okay? You think I drank Topo Chico bottles every day when I was broke? No. Okay? That is what you do when you get fucking some bread. I will say, like, Chipotle. I ate that when I was broke, and I ate that now. Chipotle is good, bro. Chipotle gets the job done. Does it feel good flexing on the middle class? Honestly, yes. And this is the problem with America is we have a disappearing middle class. Flexing on poor people doesn't feel that good because they're too broke. It feels mean. Flexing on middle class feels great. And so I think we need to fix the economy so that I can still flex on a roaring middle class, that's my dream. Guy who only wants equality so that he can flex on more people. Guy who wants everybody to have a boat so his yacht seems better in the harbor. Selfish altruism. That's my new fucking philosophy. Anyway, that went as well as I could have hoped, to be honest, except for the tech issues, which just suck for his message. It's hard they don't look good when you're, but it went well. I feel good about the questions, feel good about the answers, and hopefully it can lead to getting some people with actual, policy influence to talk to us on Lemonade Stand or on here. Either way, now I want to talk about someone else. Elon fucking Musk, dude. I want to talk about Elon Musk because Elon Musk had a brand new MSNBC interview that I haven't watched, but I think it's supposed to be kind of hilarious. Because he basically says, yeah, I'm not going to spend money on politics anymore. Like, he's just abandoning ship and running to flee to save Tesla. But I need the full interview if anyone has it. Hey, man.
Hey, sorry, dog.
What's up?
I just want to know what you think of
my L Acres? Yeah, I love it.
You should wear it now that the interview's over.
I should have worn it in the interview.
Yeah.
I should have said, hey, Gavster, what do you think about this?
I just was like, after I bought it on like Vegas, like I walked into the hotel and the reception lady was just like, I have a question for you. Okay. Can I have that?
Yeah. Wait, you asked that?
She asked that to me. And I was like, no, it's for my husband.
Yeah, you can't give this away.
No.
So you're sick?
Maybe.
Or are you just woke and you're wearing a mask?
I'm just taking precautions.
Well, I don't want to get sick.
Well, that's why I'm wearing the mask.
But that doesn't work. Okay, these chin diapers, they don't work. I heard it from my good friend Donald J. Trump.
So fun.
Anyway.
Okay, cool. Hello.
Thank you for this, but the Lakers are out, so I have to.
It's okay,
Next year. Next year when Luka gets less fat. Come on, Luka, workout time. Broccoli for Luka. That's my fucking motto. Broccoli for Luka. Skinny Luka is the goal. Get my Luka some burger. When we have a Chili's date with Newsom, dude, I do feel like I really pushed the podcast. I asked it once, he laughed. I asked it again. And that's what you're gonna do. You ask you gotta make sure. You gotta make sure, dude. Third time? You towed the line, but it was okay. I mean, listen, I want it to be out there. I don't want to be passive about it. Okay. Does anyone have this interview? Is this the interview?
Please welcome to the forum, Elon Musk, for a conversation with.
Does anyone know what the fucking interview is? Where he talks about. If you asked a third time, he would have told you he passed the test and he would come on the pod. I figured he was like a genie. You have to ask 3 times. Bloomberg Qatar panel. Is that what it was? Bloomberg Qatar panel Elon. Oh, this is it.
Hey, this is David Papadopoulos, host of Elon Inc.
Oh, no. Is this it? Oh, this is it. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Bloomberg's Michelle Hussein.
Is this it? In conversation with Elon Musk.
Hello, everyone. And Elon Musk, welcome to Qatar Economic Forum. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
I'll pause. In the interest of goodwill, I like that jacket. I don't like the incredibly patchy beard. I feel like you stopped shaving like right here and right here. I like the jacket.
Fine, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and very pleased to have you with us. You know, among those here in the audience in Doha are some you will know.
I also do think that Elon Musk and I have the same haircut, which is kind of cool because I didn't pay for mine yet. I haven't paid for the plugs, bro. So...
people who have backed you financially over the years. Since you last spoke here in 2022, a lot has changed in your life. You're not only running multiple companies, you were doing that then, but now you also have a role in government. So first of all, I hope you won't mind if from time to time I have to move you from one topic to another because we have a lot to cover in the time we have. That will be all right? Okay.
Yeah,
well, let's start then with exactly the fact that you now have this combination of being a CEO and having a role as a government advisor. Tell me about your week. How does it work? What's the split of your time?
If he doesn't mention that he tweets 40 times a day, if he tries to act like all of that is work, I'm going to crack. Also, what about, how did you get to the top of Diablo ladder? Okay? How did you get to the PoE ladder?
Well, I travel a lot. So I was in Silicon Valley yesterday morning. I was in LA yesterday evening. I'm in Austin right now.
You were in LA yesterday evening and you didn't stop by? You didn't come on the lemonade stand? You didn't fucking...
I'll be in DC tomorrow. I'll be there, having dinner with the president tomorrow night, I believe. And then a bunch of cabinet secretary meetings, and then back to Silicon Valley on Thursday night.
But I mean, the balance of your time, is it, well, clearly it's a lot, but is it still the case, as you said a while ago, that it's about 1 to 2 days a week on your government work?
Yeah, that's correct.
And what does that mean for your corporate life? Because if we start with Tesla, the company has suffered in recent months what you've called blowback. So what is your plan for turning that around, the declining sales picture? And by what stage do you think you're going to be able to turn it around?
Oh, it's already turned around.
Oh, good.
Give me some evidence.
Oh, I didn't know it was solved. Easy. Fucking clap. Wait, my goat? He just turned it around. Okay. Yay. I would say the stock is back. I would say the stock is doing well. I would say that, as per usual, has gotten divorced from the fundamentals yet again. I mean, the sales numbers are still down. I would be shocked if we get a massive bounce back in Q2 that shows that all the sales are. But
evidence for that. I've just been looking at the sales figures for Europe in April, which show very significant declines in the big markets.
That's what I was getting at, Elon. April's not that long ago, and all the sales are down. So, like, can you tell me how it's fixed?
Europe is our weakest market. We're strong everywhere else. No, our sales.
Bro, I'm quite sure the sales are down in China too. Maybe in America. I don't have any recent data, but I'm quite sure they're down in China, and I'm quite sure they're down in Canada. So maybe the USA.
Are doing well at this point. We don't anticipate any meaningful sales shortfall, and obviously the stock market recognizes that, since we're now back over $1 trillion in market cap. So,
bro, it's so fucked up to whenever the stock is down, be like it's fucking fake, doesn't mean anything, and when it's up, being like, well, that's proof. It's proof. It's a good job. No, dude. Listen. The people buying this stock market dip are like 100% retail, and I'm not exaggerating. What I'm telling you is that retail buyers have never bought the dip harder. It's never been a higher percentage of retail. It's never been so. Like, maybe it'll be okay. I'm not gonna fucking predict the future of any stock market, but I want you to know that like the risk level is rising and rising as the smart money or the Wall Street money flees. They're slowly pulling out, or overseas investors are pulling out. And the only people left are retail investors. They're holding the bag. By the end of this, it's going to be a surge with only retail holding the bag. And then if it falls from there, it's cooked. Maybe it goes up forever. Maybe it's fine. I'm just saying the market is heavily propped up by retails who've been trained to buy the dip.
the market is aware of the situation. So it's already turned around.
But sales still down compared to this time last year.
In Europe.
In Europe, okay. And
yes, but that's true of all manufacturers.
No.
There's no exceptions.
There is exception.
Does that mean
no, for EV sales, for example, are up in Norway and Denmark, but Tesla sales are down, which means they're buying more EVs, but they're not buying Teslas. In China, EV sales are way up, but they're not buying Teslas. So I can't speak to every single country off the top of my head, but that's not a true statement, what he just has. It's not a true statement.
mean that you're not going to be able... Does that mean...
European market is quite weak.
Okay, but you would acknowledge, wouldn't you, that what you are facing... Okay, let's just take it as Europe. What you are facing is a significant problem. This Tesla was an incredibly aspirational brand. People identified with it. They saw it as being at the forefront of the climate crisis, and now people are driving around with stickers in their cars saying, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy.
And there are also people who are buying it because Elon's crazy, or however they may view it. So yes, we've lost some sales perhaps on the left, but we've gained them on the right. The sales numbers at this point are strong. And,
all right, well, I did a whole video on this. I'm not going to reiterate, but that's bullshit, bro. Come on. You know people in fucking Alabama aren't picking up a Tesla, bro. People on the right generally love gas cars. They're more likely to love it. They're just more likely to love their fucking truck. And Cybertruck sales are terrible. So I would just say this is not a realistic answer to the question. I think if he was more directly honest and said like, yeah, look, my involvement in politics was for a great cause, and I knew it would cause some blowback, but it was worth it for America. I don't believe any of this, but like he could say this. But as I unwind this movement, as I have mission accomplished here at Doge, I think people are going to recognize how great Tesla's product is, and a lot of this political stuff will blow over. That's like a PR answer that could at least not be a lie. You know, you could be. It's like that's what you could say. It's not true, but you could say it, and it's like open ended. But to openly tell me like, no, every sale we lost in a left leaning city, we've gained in a right-leaning one. It's just not true. Like everybody knows that. People trust their eyes. They know how many people buy gas cars in red states versus.
We see no problem with demand.
So what do you...
And I mean, you can just look at the stock price. If you want the best inside information, the stock market analysts have that. And
okay, please save this clip for when the stock goes down. Like, it's so easy to say this when you're on an upswing. And then if it goes down, I want you to remember that, like, okay, the stock market is the perfect source of truth.
Our stock wouldn't be trading near all-time highs if it was not, if things weren't in good shape. They're fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I was citing sales figures rather than share price. Well, tell me then how committed you are to Tesla. Do you see yourself, and are you committed to still being the chief executive of Tesla in 5 years' time?
Yes.
No doubt about that at all.
Well, no, I might die.
Oh, morbid.
Okay, short of that.
I can't be a CEO if I'm dead, so there's a slight amount of time.
Does that mean that the value of your pay doesn't have any bearing on your decision?
Oh.
Well, that's not really a...
That's a funny question. So she asked him first, are you going to be here in 5 years? He said, yes, for sure, unless I die. Then she caught him with the follow-up question because he's in a big struggle over pay right now. He's asking for a lot more money from Tesla. And it's like, okay, so if they don't pay you, are you going to leave? It's a good follow. It's a good question. It's kind of a little bit of a 1-2 trap there.
Subject for discussion in this forum.
Yeah, I mean, a lot is underselling it. He's asking for more money than any CEO has ever been paid ever in any company of all time. I think he's asking for more money than Tesla has made in profit in the history of the company in a 1-year pay package. Just to be clear, it's like $50-something billion. And I think he deserves more. Okay, I honestly think he deserves more for what he's done for this country. But
I think obviously there should be compensation for if something incredible is done, that compensation should match that something incredible was done. But I'm confident that whatever some activist posing as a judge in Delaware happens to do will not affect the future compensation.
This is the judge who twice struck down the $56 billion pay package that was awarded to you. I think the value on the current value of stock options. Yeah.
Not a judge. The activist who is cosplaying a judge in a Halloween costume.
Okay, that's your characterization. I think on the current value.
Bro, he's so pleased with that. I mean, she is a judge. She is a judge. Dude, look how happy he is, though. I'm almost happy for him. I mean, that joke killed in his mind. As someone who laughs at my own jokes, I love it. Well, let's go, Elon. Let's fucking go, bro.
Stock options, I think the actual...
Justice according to the law.
On the current value of stock options, I think the value of that pay package stands at about $100 billion. Are you saying you are relaxed about...
Jesus Christ, it's $100 billion now? How can you possibly ask for that as a CEO when the company is doing so poorly? $100 billion? You want a full McDonald's. You would like the entire market cap of McDonald's as your CEO pay. The company has not made $100 billion in profit ever, combined, all years combined. That's
the value of your future pay package. Your decision to be committed to Tesla for the next 5 years, as long as you are still with us on this planet, is completely independent of pay?
No.
It's not independent. So pay is a relevant factor then to your commitment to Tesla.
A sufficient voting control such that I cannot be ousted by activist investors is what matters to me. And I've said this publicly many times. But let's not have this whole thing be a discussion of my alleged pay. It's not a money thing. It's a reasonable control thing over the future of the...
Dude, it's so crazy to ask for $100 billion pay package and say it's not a money thing. Like, there are states that don't have that much money. You know what I'm saying? There's that amount of money is... you can fund schools and it's such an absurd amount of money to be like, it's not a money thing. Like 100 billion, I would take 98 billion. It's like, I don't do it for the money. It's not. I just want voting control over this $1 trillion company.
The company, especially if we're building millions, potentially billions of humanoid robots. I can't be sitting there and one day get tossed out by, for political reasons, by activists. That would be unacceptable. That's all that matters. Now let's move on.
Okay. Well, just one question.
Now let's move on.
Well, one question before we move on to other companies, which is that I wonder if some of what has happened to Tesla in the last few months, did you take it personally?
Yes.
And did it make you regret any of...
Bro has so much riz, dude. That's what the thing is. He's got so much riz. He's able to flow in a conversation so well.
Or think twice about your political endeavors?
He's thinking.
Because it is...
I did what needed to be done. The violent antibody reaction, and I'm not someone who's ever committed violence, and yet massive violence was committed against my companies. Massive violence was threatened against me. Who are these people? Why would they do that? How wrong can they be? They're on the wrong side of history, and that's an evil thing to do. To go and damage some poor innocent person's car, to threaten to kill me.
Can you put the SpongeBob sad emote? The richest person on earth, deeply enmeshed in our government, going up here and giving a sob story about how sad his life is, how he's so underappreciated, saying he got the job done, I did what needed to be done. What'd you fucking do? The deficit's not cut. The deficit is blown out. It's bigger. Bro, if you cut the deficit, I would be up here fighting with my chat and being like, listen, bro, I don't like him, but yeah, but you didn't do it. You didn't do shit. And now you're acting so sob story about it? Oh my God, dude.
What's wrong with these people? I've not harmed anyone. So, something needs to be done about them.
What?
And a number of them are going to prison.
Yeah, Venezuela?
And more will.
You're referring to the attacks on Tesla showrooms, but I think...
Yeah. Firing bullets into showrooms and burning down cars is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Those people will go to prison, and the people that funded them and organized them will also go to prison.
Watch out, George Soros.
We're coming for you.
Wouldn't you...
I forgot this is in Qatar. The audience fucking loves it. Oh, wait, talking about hunting people down traditionally? Qatar, that's fucking, oh yeah, this plays. He knows the crowd, bro. That's fucking, yeah, cut off their hands.
But wouldn't you acknowledge that some of the people who turned against Tesla in Europe were upset at your politics?
Yeah, I mean, what's the question about, are you going to arrest them in Europe? You know, they burned down a Tesla dealership in France. Are you going to arrest you're talking about invading France?
And very few of them would have been violent in any way. They just objected to what they saw you say or do politically.
Well, it's certainly fine to object to political things, but it's not fine to resort to violence and hanging someone in effigy and death threats. That's obviously not okay. That's absurd. That is in no way justifiable at all, in any way, shape, or form. And some of the legacy media nonetheless have sought to justify it, which is unconscionable. Shame on them.
Let's talk about your other companies then and other business areas. SpaceX.
It just feels so horseshit to me. A different person can make that argument and I would believe them and agree with them. Because I I do think that like burning down a Tesla dealership is not a good thing to do. I said that in my fucking presentation. But like, if this person saw a Joe Biden effigy, Elon would retweet that shit and go, Lamau, 3 laughing faces. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels so fake. It feels, it's this weird, like, ask for respectability too late. It doesn't feel authentic at all from Elon. I would appreciate it more if he was just honest. It feels it feels crybolly. Yeah. It's a bunch of shit, Brian. Doesn't
I saw that you said in a speech at the West Point military academy.
Bro, your VP bit with Gavin is so obvious. Oh yeah, you caught me? Fuck, caught. Yes, it's going to be the Glizmeister and Gavin 2028, dude. I'm going to bring the elderly vote. But it's all part of my plan to, I'm going to teach him the Justin Trudeau stair fall. He's going to fuck it up, get hospitalized. I become president by default. Easy clap. Big A in the White House. And we're going to fix some shit around here. First of all, mandatory uninstalling League of Legends. Everyone's computer. We need more free time back. Okay? Step 1. And I will be doing that via police state. Lakers automatic seed to the finals. Yes, absolutely. LeBron needs his rest. Till age fucking 50, he's going to be allowed to play. Automatic seed to the finals. And he gets one cheap shot.
Academy recently that the future of warfare is AI and
Tough but fair. He tells it like it is.
drones. And obviously defense is an increasingly booming sector with the state of the world at the moment. Do you see SpaceX moving into weaponized drones?
Oh, big question.
You certainly ask interesting questions that are impossible to answer.
It's impossible to answer? She asked you directly if SpaceX is going to make weaponized drones, and you rolled your eyes, laughed, and said it's an impossible question. Feels like a easy. Nope, we're not doing that. We're doing Starlink internet. Dude, what's crazy is what I don't get is if I'm in Elon's position, why doesn't he just do what he's done before and lie? Like, or Google, when they say don't be evil, then quietly get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't I just be like, no, we're not making weaponized drones, and then later be like, change my mind. Why I gotta be consistent? That's crazy.
So no, SpaceX is it's the space launch leader. So SpaceX doesn't do drones. SpaceX builds rockets, satellites, and internet terminals.
Great.
So SpaceX has a very dominant position in space launch. So of the mass launch to orbit this year, SpaceX will probably do 90%. China will do the half of the remaining amount, so 5%, and the rest of the world, including the rest of the US, will do about 5%. So SpaceX will do about 10 times as much as the rest of the world combined, or 20 times as much as China, and China is doing actually a very impressive job. The reason for this is that we are putting into orbit the largest satellite constellation the world has ever seen by far.
Okay.
So
she asked about drones.
About maybe approaching 80% of all active satellites in orbit are SpaceX. And they're providing high bandwidth global connectivity throughout the world. In fact, this connection is on the SpaceX connection. So I think this is a very good thing because it means that we can provide low cost, high bandwidth.
Bro, the question was, are you going to make weaponized drones? And he's doing an ad read. I feel like I have to skip ahead. This is just an ad read.
Internet to parts of the world that don't have it or where it's very expensive. And I think the single biggest thing you can do to lift people out of poverty and help them is giving them an internet connection. because once you have the internet connection, you can learn anything for free on the internet, and you can
True.
also sell your goods and services.
Actually, we agree on this. I think even in sub-Saharan Africa or anywhere, the greatest thing they need is access to YouTube to watch Big A clips, because that will allow them to build their own entrepreneurial spirit. Okay? I think we should be airdropping flash drives with my full discography, and I do mean the albums, to developing nations. This is how we fucking turn this world around.
Services to the global market. Once you have knowledge by the internet and the ability to engage in commerce, that this is going to greatly improve quality of life for people throughout the world, and it has.
Did he say the ability to engage in comments is what's going to improve quality of life? Because I will disagree. I think the ability to engage in comments is what has ruined our brains collect. Oh, commerce. All right. In that case, just my brain's ruined then. You continue. My brain's ruined. I just heard comments because I'm on fucking YouTube all day.
And I'd just like to thank anyone in the audience who may have been helpful in, with Starlink and getting it to approved in their country. And I think it's doing a lot of good in the countries that have approved it, which is, I think at this point, 130 countries are very happy with it.
Great.
I don't currently anticipate SpaceX getting into the weapons business. That's not an aspiration. We're frequently asked to do weapons programs, but we have thus far declined.
Do you envisage SpaceX or indeed Starlink as a separate entity publicly listing in the near future or at all?
He wouldn't say that
It's
here.
possible that Starlink may go public at some point in the future.
And what would be the time frame?
Starlink.
What kind of time frame are you considering?
I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a dumb question, to be honest. He's not going to answer that. There's a lot that goes into that, and yeah, there's just no reason to.
Rush to go public. Public is, I guess, a way to, potentially make more money, but at the expense of a lot of public company overhead and inevitably a whole bunch of lawsuits, which are very annoying. So really, something needs to be done about the shareholder derivative lawsuits in the U.S. Because it allows plaintiffs' law firms who don't represent the shareholders to pretend that they represent the shareholders by getting a puppet plaintiff with a few shares to initiate a massive lawsuit against the company. And
Won't somebody think of the shareholders? He's not even saying that. He's saying, won't somebody think of the CEOs who have to answer to their own shareholders? He's one step above. He's saying he's annoyed that shareholders can sue the management of the company if they feel like it's not being managed well.
irony being.
And the reason he's mad about this is because he was sued by shareholders in Tesla over his pay package, which was obscene. And they won, and that's why he lost it under that Delaware judge. That's what he's letting out his rage over the fact that some shareholders, even though they don't own as many shares as he does, can sue the company and get rid of his pay package. It's an absurd thing to be complaining about. Like, this is not the problem. Certainly, the idea is like no company will want to go public because they get sued, except a million companies are public. All the biggest companies in America are public.
Being that extreme irony that even if the class they purport to represent were to vote that they don't want the lawsuit would still continue. So how can it be a class action representing a class if the class vote against it?
Because it doesn't have to be over half of the shareholders to vote to sue. You own a ton of shares. You and your brother and people on the board can outvote everyone 50% and say there's no, oh yeah, thanks, man. And say there's no problem with the pay package. But if someone owns 10% of the shares or less, they should still be allowed to sue if you're breaking the law by making an absurd pay package. By the way, Art brought me a meal. How about that? W wifey.
And that's the bizarre situation we've got in the U.S. It's a dire need of reform. As anyone who's run a public company,
Also, to say that the thing that's in dire need of reform in the U.S. is the ability of shareholders to sue the CEO. That's our biggest problem. The average person in America is fucking screaming for CEO shareholder reform. That's what's holding our country back. Nothing is more dire.
you've experienced this. It's an absurd situation that needs to change.
Well, do you think Donald Trump might change it? You've certainly got his ear. I imagine that you've put this to him. Is this something you're trying to change before any Starlink IPO?
Well, it would need a law to be passed. The trouble being that you need 60 Senate votes, and the Democrats will vote against it. The plaintiff's bar is, I believe, the second largest contributor to the Democratic Party. That's the issue. At the state level, this can be solved. And I should say, Texas recently passed a law which, at least the state level, made lawsuits much more reasonable, because you have to get at least 1 in 33 shareholders to agree that they are part of a class of shareholders. 3%. This will really help with frivolous lawsuits.
Let's talk about AI, which is in so many of your businesses and in all our worlds in different ways. It's one of the big changes, the development of generative AI, since you last spoke to this forum 3 years ago. You're in this space, of course, with Grok, which almost everyone will know. You co-founded OpenAI and then left, and you've obviously got a legal battle with OpenAI and Sam Altman. I wonder if you could say something about the status of that, because you were together in Saudi Arabia with the president last week with Sam Altman. In the same place at the same time.
Sam was in the neighborhood.
Okay, so does that mean you...
Holy shit, did he just brag about hanging out with the president while Sam Altman wasn't there? Yeah, that's
week with Sam Altman. In the same place at the same time.
Sam was in the neighborhood.
Okay, so does that mean you are pushing ahead with the lawsuit against OpenAI?
Yes. So look, I came up with the name OpenAI as an open source and as a nonprofit, and I funded OpenAI for the first roughly $50 million, and it was intended to be a nonprofit open source company, and now they're trying to change that for their own financial benefit into a for-profit company that is closed source. So this would be like, let's say you funded a nonprofit to help preserve the Amazon rainforest, but instead of doing that, they became a lumber company, chopped down the forest, and sold the wood.
This is a great metaphor, except I actually know what happened here because I made a video on this too. Elon Musk also wanted it to become a for-profit company with him at the head. That was one of the reasons he was initially kicked out. He did help fund it as a nonprofit, but then as it was growing, he wanted to change the company so that he would be have total control. And that was the reason they had a difference of opinion, split off. Now, I do think OpenAI is not a company I have a lot of love for. They have a weird governance. They do have a problem with a weird corporate structure that's like fake nonprofit. I agree. But I don't think Elon Musk was some big advocate of that. I think he just wanted more control over it. That was it. That's what...
You'd be like, wait a second, that's not what I funded. That's OpenAI.
They've made some changes to their corporate structure, though, haven't they, since? In recognition of what you've said. And...
No, that's just what they told the media.
Okay. They have partly walked back their plan to restructure the business. I guess that's made no difference to how you feel about it. So you determined to see them in court?
Of course.
Okay. Well, that's certainly going to be one to watch. I also wanted to ask you about AI and regulation, because when you were here last talking to John Micklethwaite, you had some pretty strong words about the risk that AI poses, and you said that you really felt what the US was missing was a federal AI regulator, that something along the lines of the Food and Drug Administration or the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, you're clearly now in a zone where you're more on the cutting regulation side than wanting new regulators. So has your view changed on the need for an AI regulator?
Well, it's not that I don't think there should be regulators. You can think of regulators like referees on the field in sports. There should be some number of referees, but that you shouldn't have so many referees that you can't kick the ball without hitting one. In many...
I mean, for sure. Interesting metaphor.
In most fields in the U.S., the regulatory burden has grown over time to the point where it's like having more referees than players on the field. And this is a natural consequence of an extended period of prosperity. It's very important to appreciate this. This has happened throughout history. When you have an extended period of prosperity with no existential war, there's no.
He's waffling again. I agree with this in principle and in spirit for things like housing. I think what he's saying applies to things like housing or NIMBYism or things that are stopping building of high-speed rail. But the question again was on AI, which currently has no regulation. But it's not like we have a problem of too many referees. There's no regulation, and so it's just a weird stock answer to give that doesn't apply to the question being asked, which is like, hey, where do you stand currently? Because you've said different things at different times on AI regulation. Should it be? I mean, again, we have a problem with new technologies, things like Uber, etc., where we're too late. There's many things where we regulated too much and it slowed everything down, and then there's new technologies where we don't regulate it until it's way too late, and they've already destroyed industries or undercut prices or caused a lot of problems. So I feel like AI is one, especially with what it's doing to schools and everything, where you'd want to have an eye to thinking proactively instead of waiting too long.
Cleansing function for unnecessary laws and regulations. So what happens is that every year more laws and more regulations are passed because legislators are going to legislate, regulators are going to regulate, and you will get the steady pile of more and more laws and regulations.
I want one more thing. Like, here's an example. Imagine if you had an AI chatbot that reached 100+ million people. Let's call it Grok. And let's say you personally hard-coded it for a 4 or 5 day period to only talk about white genocide in South Africa, regardless of the question. Would it be okay for there at least to be a fine for that? Would there be some sort of forcing function that allows a company to not just push whatever agenda they want through a mass market chatbot? Is there any possible discouragement that you could have from the government to make sure someone doesn't just abuse the widespread control of an AI agent? I guess that's an interesting question that would be worth asking.
Over time, until everything is illegal. And let me give you an example of a truly absurd situation. Under the Biden administration, SpaceX was sued for not hiring asylum seekers in the U.S. Now, the problem is it's actually illegal for SpaceX under ITAR, International Traffic in Arms Regulations, to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident of the United States, because the premise being that they will take advanced rocket technology and return to their home country if they're not a permanent resident. So we're simultaneously in a situation where it is illegal to hire asylum seekers and is also illegal to hire asylum seekers. And the Biden's Department of Justice chose to prosecute us despite both paths being illegal. damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But my
How
question
absurd is-
was specifically about a regulator for AI, which you said 3 years ago was needed, and you said we need to be proactive on the regulation of AI rather than reactive. Have you changed your mind on that?
No, of course not. No, of course not. What I'm saying is that there should be some referees on the field, a few referees, but you shouldn't have a field jam-packed with referees such that you could not kick a ball in any direction without hitting one. So the fields that have been around for a long time, such as automotive, so aerospace,
He loves
the
his
sort of
metaphor.
food and drug industries, are over-regulated, but the new fields, like artificial intelligence, are under-regulated. In fact, there is no regulator at all.
So there should be.
So
one.
it's like-
Do you still think that?
Yes, I'm simply saying, which I think is just basic common sense, that you want to have at least you want to have a few referees in the field. You don't want to have an army of referees, but you want to have a few referees on any given field.
Bro, I can't figure out his stance on the number of referees. I wish he was more clear about it. Does he want a lot of referees, or like he's just
In any given sport,
He's being
or
so
any
subtle.
given arena, industrial arena, to ensure that public safety is taken care of. But you don't want to have so there's a proper number of referees. Like I said, it's actually very easy to visualize this when compared to sports. If the whole field is packed with referees.
Bro, I get it. I fucking get it. I fucking get it, bro. The referees understood. You can't kick the ball because there's too many referees. I fucking get it.
That would look absurd. But if there were no referees at all, your game's not going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's then talk about your new world, your role advising government. You are in this unique and unprecedented.
Dude, I got to give him a W there. She asked a question. He jammed home the referee metaphor 5 or 6 times, and then she moved on. Like she tried a couple times to get him to answer, and he just fucking... That's incredible. He just got through the question by repeating the referee thing over and over.
Position of having billions of dollars worth of contracts with the federal government,
The referee
yourself,
defense.
mostly through SpaceX, and also now an insider's knowledge of it because of Doge. Can you see that there is
Conflict
a
of interest?
conflict of interest or a potential conflict of interest in broad terms just through that very fact?
That's a fair question.
I don't think so, actually. There have been many advisors throughout history and in the U.S. government and others who have had economic interests. And I am simply an advisor. I don't have formal power. And that's it. The president can choose to accept my advice or not. And that's how it goes. If there's a single contract that any of my companies have received that people think is somehow not was awarded improperly, it would immediately be front page news, to say the least. And if I didn't mention it, certainly my competitors would. So if you're not seeing that, then clearly there's not a conflict of interest.
There's another way, though, to look at it, that, for example, you have many competitors, whether it's companies like Boeing or companies who would like to do more of the kind of work you do for NASA, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab. And because Doge is in every federal government department, you or people who work for Doge, and you are the driving force behind it, have an insight into those companies' affairs and those companies' relationships with the federal government.
Pretty good question.
No, all we do is we review the organization to see if the organization has...
What she's not understanding is that when you play sports, you don't want too many referees on the field. Because then if you kick the ball, you won't even be able to, you can't get past the referees. I think she's not, do you notice how she's like completely not understanding that? Like if you have a few referees, what you can do is you can play the sport the way you want to play it. But when there's too many of them, I think I'm just noticing a weakness on her end.
departments that are no longer relevant, and then are the contracts that are being awarded good value for money? In fact, frankly, the bar is not particularly high. Is there any value for money in a contract? And if there isn't, then we make recommendations to the secretary.
Yeah, but her question is very obvious. It's like, if you're the one deciding whether a contract is valuable, you're not going to pick the Tesla or Starlink ones to cut. You're not going to be like, well, we shouldn't have a Starlink contract. That's not valuable. The government's not getting its money worth. That's a conflict of interest because you're a billionaire who has businesses that rely on government revenue, and you're the one deciding whether those contracts are worthwhile. It's a simple question. But I guess you're a good referee, so
the secretary can then choose to take those.
In your metaphor, though, wouldn't it be weird if one of the players on the other team was also the referee, the lead referee? Okay? Imagine it's fucking Ronaldo v. Messi, and Messi gets a whistle, and he can call it whenever he wants. It messes up the contest. Now, do I think LeBron James should be given a whistle? Yes. Should he be allowed to call fouls? Yes, absolutely. He's an experienced player. He's the GOAT. Do I think Luka should get one too? Probably, yes. But I just want to understand whether we agree ideologically on that.
Those actions or not take those actions, and that's it. And then any action that is as a function of Doge is posted to the Doge website and to the Doge.gov or at Doge handle on the X platform. So it's complete transparency, and I have not seen any case where, to the best of my knowledge,
Yet again, not complete transparency, because on that website, so many of the supposed savings, when you click into them, don't have any details attached, or they don't have the contracts attached, or the contracts say a different number than what you're claiming. And so it all adds up to a different number than your top line claim, and it doesn't feel very transparent. It feels performative yet again. So, and you know, that's not just me saying. There's like many news organizations, NYT, FT, Bloomberg. They've all done this deep dive to try and track down whether the savings you're saying are actually happening, and they're finding a much smaller number.
There's even been an accusation of conflict because it is completely and utterly transparent. That's it.
And what about the international dimension? Now, let's think about Starlink. Starlink is obviously a very, very good internet service. It's sought after all over the world. It's critical to the front line in Ukraine. It is also...
Does anyone here have Starlink? I have heard that it's good. Is anyone here on Starlink internet right now? I've heard nothing, generally nothing but good things. I've heard good things. Especially because it's available in areas that don't have good options. Again, internet is one of those areas where, like, man, even a fucking modicum of competition would be such daylight to this rat-infested industry. So I don't have any problem with Starlink doing what they're doing with internet. I think the problem is when Elon Musk uses his government influence and connections to get other governments, Italy, etc., to sign these massive multi-billion-dollar Starlink deals. He wouldn't be able to take these meetings. He wouldn't be able to see these people. He wouldn't have this connection if he wasn't in government. It just, it sounds a little old-fashioned nowadays when nobody seems to care. But, like, back in the day, they made Jimmy Carter sell his peanut farm before he could be president. Most government advisors, even fucking Rex Tillerson in the first Trump administration, he had to, like, divest from his oil interests because he's managing U.S. energy policy. And so it's like, I don't know why we forgot that if you don't make people do that, they will have huge financial conflict of interest. And if you ask them about it, they'll lie. Of course they will.
Had more contracts coming its way, and there is some evidence that companies are allowing access to it because they want to be close to the Trump administration and send the right signal. So Bloomberg broke news today that the South African government is working around the rules on black ownership in order to allow Starlink in, and that is being done on the eve of the visit that President Ramaphosa is going to make to the White House. Do you recognize that as a conflict of interest?
No, of course not. First of all, you should be questioning why are there racist laws in South Africa? That's the first problem. That's what you should be attacking. it's improper for there to be racist laws in South Africa.
Grok.
The whole idea with what Nelson Mandela, who was a great man, proposed was that all races should be on an equal footing in South Africa. That's the right thing to do, not to replace one set of racist laws with another set of racist laws, which is utterly wrong and improper.
I heard this from Grok.
That's the deal, that all races should be treated equally, and there should be no preference given to one or the other. Whereas there are now 140 laws in South Africa that give that basically give strong preference to if you're a black South African, and not otherwise. And so now I'm in this absurd situation where I was born in South Africa but cannot get a license to operate in Starlink because I'm not black.
Well, it looks
Does
like
that
that's
seem
about.
right to
It
you?
looks
Does
like
seem
that.
right to you?
Looks like that's about to change.
I just asked you a question. Please answer. Does that seem right to you?
Well, those rules were designed to bring.
Yes or no?
Those rules were designed to bring about an era of more economic equality in South Africa, and it looks like the government has found a way around those rules for you.
I asked you a question.
This is.
He's such a kid, bro. I can't believe this is the richest man in the fucking world. It's crazy. It's crazy. What's extra annoying about this to me is like, if this were a different country in Africa who had, listen, I don't know what's going on in South Africa. I really don't. I assume he's exaggerating, but even if he isn't, if it was any other country in like a reverse situation, his normal response would be, this is not America, who gives a shit? It's not our problem. That's what the general stance has been about most of it. If it's not America, why the fuck are we caring? But because he has personal business interests in South Africa, because he's from there, he's made it like a big discussion point for the U.S. government to get involved in South Africa's laws about their business policy. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do. So it's just very hypocritical. It feels like totally not relevant to the majority of Americans, but he's making it seem like it's a big story to them.
This is your interview. Everyone wants to hear from you.
Ask your question. Yes or no?
Not for
Racist
me.
laws, yes or no?
Not for me to answer. I have got a question for you about your government work though and the amount of savings.
Why do you like racist laws?
This is not for me to answer. Come on.
Yes, it is.
Now you wouldn't be trying to dodge a question.
You have to
that
ask a
is
question.
difficult for
I
you
answer
to
my
answer.
question. No, you answer mine.
I think if you, I'm sure you can have that conversation directly with the South African government if you want to. I want to ask you about the total.
I can't believe it. That's not good.
I want to ask you about the total
Why do you
amount.
love racist laws?
I want to ask you about the total amount that you're planning to save through Doge's work. Before the election, you said it was going to be at least $2 trillion.
Oh, shit.
The number currently on Doge.gov is $170 billion. That's a big change. What happened to the $2 trillion?
What do you expect it to happen immediately?
Well, is it going to happen? Because Doge is supposed to run till next July.
I mean, your question is absurd in its fundamental premise. Are you assuming that on day, within a few months, this an instant $2 trillion saved?
No, I'm not at all. I'm just asking, is that still your aim then? Is it still your aim to get to $2
given
trillion?
the amount of time? Have we not made good progress given the amount of time?
No.
That's exactly what I'm asking. So is it still your aim to go from 170 billion to 2 trillion?
The ability of Doge to operate is a function of whether the government, and this includes the Congress, is willing to take our advice. We're not the dictators of the government, we are the advisors. And so we can advise, and the progress we've made thus far, I think, is incredible. The Doge team has done incredible work. But the magnitude of the savings is proportionate to the support we get from Congress and from the executive branch of the government in general.
So it's Trump's fault.
We're not the dictators, we are the advisors. But thus far, for advisors, the Doge team, to their credit, has made incredible progress.
I disagree.
You've talked about $4 billion a day being saved, but that won't get, which is, and I think everyone can agree that combating waste and inefficiency in government is a very good thing. But if you add that up, it's not going to get to 2 trillion over the lifetime of Doge.
I'm sorry.
The 4 billion a day, if Doge is going to run till next July, is not going to get you to $2 trillion. But you still say it's your aim, so we'll take that as read.
There's what Doge. I mean, I feel you're somewhat trapped in the NPC dialogue tree of a traditional journalist. So it's difficult when
call her an NPC?
conversing with someone who's trapped in the dialogue tree of a conventional journalist, because it's like talking to a.
Bro's going full gamer. Yeah, I'm trapped in an NPC dialogue tree. She just asked you a question, bro, about the thing you're doing with our government. She just asked you a reasonable question with Matt. At $4 billion a day, you won't get to $2 trillion. You said $2 trillion. Why not? Why are we not there?
Computer. Doge is an advisory group. We are doing the best we can as an advisory group. The progress made thus far as an advisory group is excellent. I don't think any advisory group has done better in the history of advisory groups of the government. We do not make the laws, nor do we control the judiciary, nor do we control the executive branch. We are simply advisors.
Mm-hmm.
In that context, we are doing very well. Beyond that, we cannot take action beyond that because we are not.
Okay, well, I think her question is about this weird about face, because in the, lead up to Doge, you're up on stage talking about how we're going to easily cut $1 trillion, maybe $2 trillion. Then it was confidently $2 trillion and all this. And now it's like, well, it's not our fault. We're just advisors. It's Trump and it's Congress. But, this was the criticism you were receiving when Doge was first announced, and you said it wouldn't be a problem. So I just think Doge has been a colossal failure, and I feel like it's not fair to cop out and say, we're just advisors. The only things you advised on were inconsequential to the national debt and deeply consequential to the few programs you defunded. I mean, I'll give you a real world example. I don't know if I can say this. I shouldn't. I'll say it, but it's for a good cause, all right? Ari is a much better person than me. Ari's a much better person than me. And Ari, every week, volunteers to teach kids how to read. I have not told anybody this. But Ari goes to schools and teaches kids how to read. And that program, recently, she showed up and they said she couldn't do it because it got defunded. She just is out of the blue, by the way. She just started doing this. It got defunded. So now when she shows up, they don't have funding and they can't just leave an adult with the kid, even though she's doing it for free. So the kid she was seeing regularly, she can't see that girl anymore and teach her. It's just crazy. It's like, and did that save the government any money? No, no. It was this weird random fucking cut by Doge that again has done jack shit. Like the deficit is so much bigger. And once this big, beautiful bill gets passed, it's going to be massively bigger. So it all just feels like stupid cloud cover for tax cuts. They cut funding for a free thing. I asked the same question. I was as dumbfounded as you are. But apparently, they need some staff there to supervise. Otherwise, anyone could be like, I want to teach kids how to read and then walk into a school. And it's like not. So you have to have staff to supervise, and the staff no longer exist. And so, no, the volunteers get sent home. So it's just super cringe.
Some sort of imperial dictator of the government. There are three branches of the government that are to some degree opposed to that level of cost savings. But nonetheless, let's not criticize whether there's $4 trillion, and instead look at the fact that $160 billion has been saved, and more will be saved too.
And as I said, I think everyone can agree that cutting waste and indeed fraud in any government and being responsible with taxpayers' money is a very good thing. So
Yes.
I can see that you're proud of that work. I do want to ask you about USAID and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already.
That's terrible. Also,
What did he call Bill Gates? What did he say? He's a huge what?
The comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which and I know that you called him.
yeah, he's a huge liar.
Huge liar.
I know
Okay.
you've said that already. I wondered.
Also,
and I'm just.
who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well.
No, they love that.
He said he regrets those, and he spent a lot of his own money
Okay, bro.
on.
Listen, I'm not gonna defend fucking Bill Gates. I'm sure he got divorced from Melinda. Maybe he wasn't those fucking flights. But the flight logs also have Donald Trump, bro, and you're pals with him. So it again feels kind of hypocritical.
On philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is, have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that that is true. It's false. What we found with USAID cuts, and by the way, they haven't all been cut. The parts of USAID that were found to be even slightly useful were transferred to the State Department. So they've not been deleted. They've simply been transferred to the State Department. But many times over with USAID and other organizations, when they said, "Oh well, this is going to help, children, or it's going to help some disease eradication or something like that," and then when we ask for any evidence whatsoever, I say, "Well, please connect us with this group of children so we can talk to them and understand more about their issue." We get nothing. They don't even try to come up with a show orphan, meaning like this sort of like, well, can we at least see a few kids? Like, where are they? If they're in trouble, we'd like to talk to them and talk to their caregivers.
Okay, well,
and then we get nothing as a response because it's what we find is an enormous amount of fraud and graft.
Okay, let me put this example to you.
Very little of it actually gets to the kids, if anything at all.
Okay, let me put this example to you because you grew up in South Africa, so you'll know the impact of HIV/AIDS well. And this is why I asked about the data. The US led on international efforts to combat HIV/AIDS treatment, prevention, and there's an initiative called PEPFAR, which is credited with saving 26 million.
I like this interviewer because she brings follow-ups and data. The answer like that from Elon Musk is one of those answers that you normally can't say anything to. You just unless you are deeply in the weeds on specifics, it's just a fucking story from him. I can't verify if it's true or not. I'm not the fucking head of USAID. I have no idea. I don't know. And part of it rings true, right? Most people would agree that there's obviously some graft somewhere of people who are taking money. It just sounds true that people are taking money, but obviously some of it is being used for useful purposes. And I don't think Elon Musk is the guy to make that distinction. Clearly not the best guy to be the referee in this case. So I'm appreciative that she has some follow-ups because it's annoying to hear answers like that to questions when you can't say it. Like I can't give you a specific. I don't know. But I get the feeling that you are also misleading me. In the way that people in your story are misleading you, I think you are also misleading me in your answer. Especially because the things I do know about earlier in this call, you have openly lied about. Like the things I did know about regarding Starlink and with regard to Tesla, I could tell you lie. So it just makes me not trust you on this, even though some part of it does ring true.
Lives in the last 20 years. It was part of the foreign aid freeze. Then there was a limited waiver. Its services are disrupted. And UN aid says if permanently discontinued, there will be another 4 million AIDS-related deaths by 2029. So if you look at that example, which is backed up by data, in 2023, 630,000.
It's kind of like if the referees had AIDS and they were blocking the goal. So you couldn't. So they also have AIDS, but also you can't score the goal. Is this making sense? I feel like if you say about it through a referee lens, then it. Okay.
Some people died of AIDS-related illnesses. Then perhaps Bill Gates' figures are not wrong. Millions of lives could be lost.
First of all, the program, the AIDS medication program is continuing. So your fundamental premise is wrong. It is continuing. Now, do you have another example? Since the one you cited, it's false.
Elon, not in its entirety.
That it is false.
Not in its entirety. There's a limited waiver, and UNAIDS have said that not all of the services that were previously funded by USAID are continuing. So that's why I put that example to you.
Okay, well, which ones aren't being funded? I'll fix it right now.
Okay, well, actually, they're all on the UNAIDS website, so you'll be able to see them. But mostly they are to do with prevention, and for example, the rollout of a drug called lenacapavir, which was hailed as one of the biggest breakthroughs.
Dude, mad respect to her for having lenacapavir on top of the dome. Because that's such a disingenuous way to fucking criticize. Which ones? Which website? Which? Just keep drilling down until they don't have the answer. Then you can smugly smile and be like, "Ha, I fucking showed you." Incredible to know a specific drug, because that shouldn't be the requirement to ask this question. It's a very fair question, and he's fucking nut-ing.
Against AIDS for many years, which came out last year. So if you are, perhaps, I'm sure UNAIDS would be delighted if you're able to look at that again.
Yes, but well, if in fact this is true, which I doubt it is, then we'll fix it.
Okay, fine. So finally, your political influence. I wondered whether you have decided yet how much you're going to spend on the upcoming midterms. Is it you spent a lot more money on the last US election than you envisaged when you were speaking here 3 years ago? Are you going to continue to spend at that kind of level on future elections?
I think in terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
Is it because of blowback?
Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it. I do not currently see a reason.
Okay. What about political influence beyond the US? How often do you speak to President Putin?
Oh, well, that was the big headline I saw. I mean, to be honest, I didn't say much. That's because, 2024, 6 months before the election, he said, I'm not going to donate money to either candidate for president. 6 months before the election. And then, of course, he turned out to donate $300 million to Trump. So there's no holding him to this. But I will say that there's a reasonable argument to be made that he'll never admit it here, but that he is trying to ease back from Doge, ease back from political spending, because it is damaging his company so severely. I don't trust him when he says that Tesla is back on track, all good. I don't think the numbers bear that out. I think there's been a nice retail dip buying for the stock, but in general, the longer-term trend is negative as the sales continue to decline. So I think he's going to try and fix that before he jumps back into crazy spending. Additionally, he did a ton of spending for the Supreme Court thing in Wisconsin. It was Wisconsin, right? And lost that race pretty handily. So there's also an argument to be made that him spending actually hurts the team he's for, which would also make him stop.
I don't speak to President Putin.
You've never spoken to President Putin?
I was on a video call with him once about 5 years ago.
Okay. That's the only.
Why would you think I speak to President Putin? Oh, you must. I get it.
Because
you
I've
believe
heard
the legacy.
you speak. Actually, I've heard you speak about it. For example, in your West Point speech, you said, "Oh, I challenged President Putin to was it an arm wrestle?" And I know the Wall Street Journal has reported your reported conversations.
Oh, yes.
If you're saying they haven't happened other than once, I'll take that as read.
Is there a worse publication on the face of the earth than the Wall Street Journal? I wouldn't use that to line up my cage for parrot droppings. That newspaper is the worst newspaper in the world. If there's one newspaper that should be pro-capitalist, it's the one with Wall Street in the name. But it isn't. So I have the very lowest opinion of the Wall Street Journal. Absolute nonsense. And you clearly believe the tripe that you've read in those papers.
I read very widely, and I'm putting these questions to you so that you have an opportunity to respond to them.
It's a
which
fair
you
question.
are, and for which we're all grateful to hear your responses.
Yes.
Okay, we are out of time. So
you mentioned me challenging. I did so on the X platform. I challenged Vladimir Putin to single combat over the. But I didn't talk to him. That was a post on the X platform.
Great. That's why I asked you, and you've clarified and explained. Thank you. That's why I was.
One more referee reference to wrap it up, Elon. Also, I forgot that he did that. This is back when Elon put a Ukraine flag in his bio, right? He was all about it, then he switched. And he was like, I challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat. I forgot that he did that. Times change so quickly, huh?
I was asking whether you have had reported conversations, and you've said...
He also challenged Mark Zuckerberg to single combat. We never got that either. He seems to be big on the challenging, but not the...
You haven't other than a video call. Okay.
Typical legacy media lies.
Okay, listen, I actually thought I might give Grok the last word, because when I asked Grok what your hardest challenge is, it said the strain of managing multiple high-stake ventures amid financial, regulatory, and public relations crises. And I wondered whether you recognize that character.
It also mentioned a little bit about white genocide in South Africa. The stress of dealing with white genocide in the song Kill the Boer in South Africa. But
and whether you do think that this is a pivotal year in your life.
Oh, definitely, right?
Well, every year's been somewhat pivotal, and this one's no different. So, I mean, in terms of interesting things that hopefully are accomplished this year, getting Starship to be fully reusable, so that we catch both the booster and the ship, which would be the first fully reusable orbital rocket ever in history, would be a profound breakthrough, as the essential breakthrough necessarily to make life multiplanetary and ultimately become a spacefaring civilization. We've got Neuralink, which has now helped 5 patients.
I'm a little annoyed she didn't bring up the Austin self-driving. That's supposed to happen in a month. He's just trotting out the Mars stuff, but I think that would be a good question to ask, especially given that, man, you guys know that just today or yesterday, Waymo is now officially doing more rides than Lyft in the cities it operates in, and Lyft has I think, I'm not kidding, 4,000% more cars. Waymo's actually growing at a kind of insane clip. I see them all over LA now. And they're accident free. I mean, the radar and LiDAR works. Now, again, I don't know if that's the long-term implications of self-driving. Actually, no. The medium term are terrible. The long term are great. The medium term are very tough economically as it displaces Uber drivers, truck drivers, taxi drivers. But in terms of the business implications for Tesla, Waymo is cooking. They're moving at a rapid pace, and they have drivers and they're making money. And Tesla still hasn't launched. Still hasn't even done the test in Austin.
Restore capability using the telepathy implant, where they're able to control the computer simply by thinking. We'll be doing our first patient to restore sight with our blind sight implant, which is either end of this year or early next. In fact, that first patient might be in UAE, since we have a relationship with UAE and the Cleveland clinic there. I think what's running on the AI front, we are close to what you might call AGI, or digital superintelligence.
You're close to it, or someone's
I
close
think
to it?
we are seeing an explosion in digital superintelligence here. And then we've got at Tesla we'll be launching unsupervised autonomy, basically self-driving cars with no one in them, in Austin next month.
Oh, there we go.
So it's a big year for sure. Many other things on the in the works too.
Okay.
I'm a technologist first and foremost.
Elon Musk, thank you very much for joining us here at Qatar Economic Forum. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Elon. Thanks, Elon. Appreciate that dialogue. Honestly, interesting. But man, I can't help but feel like some of the walls are closing in there. Damn, we got a 1 out of 10 on this nuclear stuff in Big A clips. How about that? Big day. Chat, I think I may have to call it here. Not that I'm not enjoying this stream, but I have stuff I want to finish. A significant amount of stuff, actually. And I had a good stream today, and we did the Gavin Newsom interview. We talked about Elon Musk, and I'm also... yeah, I really, really, really want to finish some stuff for the pod tomorrow, and I also want to finish a presentation this week. I really need to. I also have to finish the intro dialogue for the Hitman video, which has been quite delayed. So I got a lot to do, but I appreciate you turning in. I really do. Fun stream. I think the Gavin Newsom stuff went well. Hopefully we get more. Here's the start. Okay, it's a hustle. I appreciate your support. We'll raid Squeaks. We're going to raid Squeaks. Give Squeaks some love. And back tomorrow. Squeener. Take care. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. Goodbye.